We live. We live. Yo, welcome to the Unapologetically Black Male and Christian Podcast. Listen, this is a place where brothers can be themselves and share their opinions. I'm your host, Reverend Kelly. Listen, today you are in for a treat because we are going to be looking back on 2020. Tonight we covering all the hot topics from presidential politics to Meg Thee Stallion and John Gray. Listen, tonight my co-hosts are a collection of brothers who are unapologetically Black, male, and Christian, and we're getting ready to take a look back. But before I do that, let me introduce my co-host. Who we got in the building? Listen, what's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
Yo.
What's going on?
Listen, all the way from New York City, pastor of Next Level Church, the guy who my wife says has the coldest hallelujah in the game. Bryson B. Baylor is in the building. What's up, bro?
Yo, well, shout out to Carolyn. Glory to God.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Well, nobody said it. God bless you. Glad to be here, man.
You know, when we be watching your videos and, you know, when you be like, hallelujah, it's one of them strong TBN hallelujah. You know what I'm saying?
Meant it.
Yeah, yes. And coming second, my good friend, you know what I'm saying? My number one man, Dr. Fred Thomas, all the way from Dothan Church of Purpose. What's going on, Doc?
My man, I'm glad to be here.
Man, how the weather is out there?
It's warm today, brother.
Oh,
warm. Short pants, man. Short pants.
Oh, man, they talking about tornadoes out here in Houston. Listen, all the way from NC, Pastor Mike McCreary. What's going on, brother?
What's good, man? Glad to be back online, man.
Absolutely. You know, Mike took a little sabbatical. He known to do a social media sabbatical. But he ain't just resting on his laurels. I tell you, he be in the cut doing this thing. You know what I'm saying? Right. But definitely, last but not least, all the way from Louisville or Clio? Which one is which one?
They both the same, but yeah, they both back.
Alabama. Pastor Calvin Daffin is in the building. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, man?
My guy, he from the great metropolitan city of Clio, Alabama. That's what I'm talking about. Listen, let's get into it. Today is the look back. We're going to look back over 2020. But listen, before we begin, what I want to do is I want to play a little, a short video that I think is going to Let our viewers give our viewers an understanding of what we're gonna cover. Let's go ahead and check it out. Y'all watching live, let me know if you can hear.
Until you actually see it coming at you in a roll of slide.
Breaking news and video published to his Sussex Royal Instagram page. Prince Harry has just publicly addressed the decision by him and his wife Meghan to leave their royal lives behind.
Breaking news from this Sunday afternoon, five-time NBA champion, former league MVP Kobe Bryant died earlier this afternoon in Los Angeles in a helicopter crash. News reports are just coming in. Among multiple victims, Kobe Bryant on that helicopter.
So I said in my letter to Pelosi, by proceeding with your invalid impeachment, you're violating your oath of office. You're breaking your allegiance to the Constitution. You're declaring open war on American democracy. You dared to invoke the founding fathers in pursuit of this election nullification scheme.
The floor of the House, where you see right there, the full article that which against Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States, has passed, does have the votes to pass.
We begin tonight with the Harvey Weinstein verdict, guilty of rape and criminal sexual assault, not guilty on 3 other counts. Tonight he's been taken to New York's infamous Rikers Island, once one of the most powerful figures in Hollywood. Tonight, Weinstein is now behind bars. He faces up to 29 years in prison.
We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
My fellow Americans, tonight I want to speak with you about our nation's unprecedented response to the coronavirus outbreak that started in China and is now spreading throughout the world. Today, the World Health Organization officially announced that this is a global pandemic.
Tonight, the FBI is leading a new investigation into the most high-profile hack in Twitter history. Some accounts of its most famous users, including former President Barack Obama, former Vice President Joe Biden, Jeff Bezos, and Kanye West, were taken over by cybercriminals yesterday. Unidentified hackers used the accounts to ask people to send them Bitcoin, promising to double their money, scamming them out of over $100,000.
The state attorney's office is handling this prosecution rather than federal prosecutors because Florida law allows for us greater flexibility to charge a minor as an adult in a financial fraud case like this.
About a month later, the alleged attacker was revealed. This Asian giant hornet found in Blaine, Washington, just a couple miles from McFall's property. Dubbed the murder hornet for its powerful sting and the way it decapitates its prey, this is the first time the world's largest hornet has been seen in the U.S.
Actor Chadwick Boseman, star of the groundbreaking blockbuster Black Panther, has died.
The governor of California declaring a state of emergency tonight, forcing thousands to rush from their homes, some of them injured during their escape. This was the scene, driving through the flames near the biggest cluster of fires in the Bay Area. The flames racing across the hills, dozens of structures gone, at least 50 families left homeless tonight. The lightning combined with searing heat, an awful combination tonight, and we have just learned this evening about a helicopter involved in this firefight that has crashed.
Is a Fox News alert on Martha McCallum in New York. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has died at the age of 87 due to complications from pancreatic cancer, according to the information that we are getting from the court.
She just died. Wow.
How sincere.
amazing life. I'm immensely sad to hear that. I am sad to hear that. Thank you very much.
In the last few minutes, President Trump has tweeted saying that he and the First Lady have tested positive for COVID-19.
We're going to beat this coronavirus, or whatever you want to call it.
My God.
And we're going to beat it soundly.
Now, this was the dopest, though. I ain't going to lie. Use the power of the presidency for a photo op. This is it.
Guitar legend Eddie Van Halen died of cancer today. Few could match his speed or his influence to an entire generation of guitarists.
He was there for 47 years. He didn't do it. He was now there as vice president for 8 years, and it's not like it was 25 years ago. It was 3 3/4. It was just a little while ago, right? Less than 4 years ago. He didn't do anything.
America, you just heard Senator Harris tell you. On day one, Joe Biden's going to raise your taxes. It's really remarkable the things. I mean, right after a time where we're going through a pandemic that lost 22 million jobs at the height, we've already added back 11.6 million jobs.
We have made America powerful again, our military. It's never been like this. We have made America wealthy again. We have made America strong again. We have made America proud again. We have made America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Michigan. Go out and vote. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think I'm hearing we're doing well all over here. The lines are amazing. The lines have been amazing. And I think we're going to have a great night.
The people are going to decide who gets to be president.
I appreciate it very much. And I want to thank the American people for their tremendous support. Millions and millions of people voted for us tonight.
The people of this nation have spoken. They've delivered us a clear victory, a convincing victory, a victory for we the people. We've won with the most votes ever cast on a presidential ticket in the history of the nation.
You ushered in a new day for America.
Now, that was crazy.
Lawsuits will be brought starting on Monday. But the first time it was discovered was here in Pennsylvania just a couple of days ago. The people you see behind me are just a few of about, I'd say, 50 to 60 poll watchers who will all testify that they were uniformly deprived of their right to inspect any single part of the mail-in ballots.
8 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to roll this back and show it to you. There you go. So now they're going to start pulling these ballots out from under this table. Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table. So what are these ballots doing there, separate from all the other ballots? And why are they only counting them whenever the place is cleared out with no witnesses?
Good evening, my fellow Americans. Over the past few weeks, officials in each state, Commonwealth, and district.
Listen, I definitely heard enough. I think that's enough of a recap of we ain't even got into everything. I think we're gonna cover enough. What y'all think about what y'all just saw?
It's been one wild year.
One wild year, huh? Yeah. Well,
it's been heavy, man. A lot of that stuff, I can kind of feel the emotion from a couple of them videos I saw, man. Kind of remember where I was at, what I was doing when it happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, let's get into it, man.
Let's get it.
We broke this down into 4 different topics, 4 different categories. And so the first one is what that pandemic do. And so listen, brothers, you all got a great insight in what's going on. We all from all over the country. We all are unapologetically black, male, and Christian. So let's get into it, man. COVID-19. What is it? You know what I'm saying? Looking back on 2020, what is COVID-19? Is it man-made? What is it? Where did it come from? Go ahead, Fred.
Man, personally, I feel like it was man-made. You know what I mean? Kind of got out of control. I don't know if they had a plan for it or what, but it was some wild stuff, man. I remember when it first hit, man, and my wife had like a panic moment. She was like, is the kids gonna be able to grow up? Like, what's gonna happen? What if everybody get it? And I had to grab, I said, babe, calm down. Hey, calm down, man. I was like, and in my book, I had to start saying, hey, look, we done taught faith. We gotta live by it now. So, you know what I mean? It definitely shook the country upside down. Shook my life a little bit, but I can honestly say, man, outside of the discomfort of wearing a mask and not being able to walk freely, this has actually been one of the best years of my life, man.
Wow.
Facts.
We definitely gonna get into that. Calvin, what you think about COVID-19?
Well, just like as Dr. Thomas has said, I think it's definitely something that man created or man made to that extent of however we look at it. I remember way before it got out, reading some things in the news, and they was kind of trying to keep it kind of hush. And I began to talk to my wife, and I said, hey, I just got a little eerie feeling. I think I want you to go down to the grocery store and grab some things. I said, because I believe when this thing hit, a lot of people gonna panic. I said, they ain't saying too much about it. They're trying to keep it on the wraps. I said, but let's just go ahead and try to kind of get prepared. And so we started going, kind of getting a few things, not probably as early as I spoke that conversation, but we start trying to get a few things. I will say, as Fred says, and not just necessarily in his wife, I was yet, even though from the standpoint, kind of fearful when I first started reading, trying to get a grasp of what this thing really would cause or what it really would do. And as Fred said, I had to get to a place within my own life that where I taught faith, that I had to live by faith. And God. I just got to a place of, hey, it is what it is. God didn't give me the spirit of fear. If I know God as I say I do, God will keep us, and that's just what we live. You know, we went by.
My God, I thank God that what I see on TV is not a reality. You know, Mike, what you think about COVID-19, man? Is it biological warfare? Is it the white man trying to wipe us? I mean, is the yellow man trying to wipe us all out?
You know what? So my take on it is, I don't think that this was man's ingenuity, as far as an attack or anything like that. I don't particularly buy into that philosophy, that perspective. And I also didn't buy into all of the super prophets saying that God sent this to punish and all that stuff, because I felt like, especially in the beginning, for all of the African American church that was hit so bad with, I said God didn't send nothing for all of the ministers and the congregations in the black church to die. I said God didn't do that. I didn't believe that at all. But what I do believe about the whole thing is it is part of what happened in 2020 to open our eyes on so many different levels. I think that is the main thing that I've gotten from it. I know you don't want us to be churchy, but realistically,
whatever we are.
That's my perspective on it. I was certain at the beginning when it came, I said this is not gonna come here and go quickly. And you know, all of the popular prophets were saying other stuff, and I was like, yeah, I just keep my mouth shut because I ain't popular. But I think in due time, uh, it's going to be something that is more common from a medical perspective.
Like
Some
we
people
just
might,
gotta live with it.
yeah, because I don't believe it's even like I just read this morning that a nurse got the vaccine and 3 days later they got COVID. So,
Yeah.
I think this is something that we're going to live with and manage. That's just my perspective of it.
Bryson, I know you got some thoughts.
Man, believe it or not, I need you guys' help. Real quick. Can
Okay,
you guys pray with me real quick about this? I need your help, preachers. All right. Come on, dudes with me. COVID-19.
Man, get out of here, man. Get out.
COVID-19.
We blow the wind of God.
Oh man.
On you.
Man, you wild, man.
No, man. Shout out to one of the GOATs, the great Kenneth Copeland. In that prophetic declaration.
Ooh,
you should have put that on there. I would have made it just really, really blast. But no, I think about this virus. I'm definitely conflicted. Obviously, the pain of 300,000 plus people whose lives have been lost from this, and that's obviously painful, and that leaves a significant dent in so many families and so many households and so many jobs, and even in so many churches. I mean, it's just as Mike was mentioning, it's wiped out. Much more of the Black and brown people of America, and particularly within the Black church. And so it's been devastating. And then at the same time, we have to look at it from a perspective of, we are, in a real world that has people who are antagonizing one another. Now, obviously, I don't know if I'm going to be so much like the president, and specifically give all culpability to China, or as he says, China. But it does make you wonder for something that has no seeming decline, something that doesn't die in the winter time, something that doesn't die in the summertime with heat, but it's still consistent and it's mutating and growing. It definitely brings a level of like, what is this? Except it's like manna, but just a negative manna, demonic manna that we're dealing with. And, we're in that world. We watch movies and all kind of stuff. It's like, oh, that could never happen. But, this is the real world. And unfortunately, we're here for these times. And God has saw fit for us to be raised up and to be established in this time. So it's scary, but at the same time, it's very reflective on purpose and what we're here for.
Yeah. Okay. Well, up next, man, the global lockdown. Listen, we know the pandemic hit, and it's like the whole world shut down. I remember I was talking about it all the way back in January, and I was keeping track on it. And Italy was the first country they locked. Well, actually, China was. China locked like 80 million people down, like their streets was blank. But then Italy locked their whole country down, and then everybody else locked down. Listen, this global lockdown. Can we stand another one? Is another one coming? Should we have another one? Go ahead, go ahead, Mike.
You know what the thing about the lockdown is, like my wife and where we are economically, we just happen to be blessed. And as much as I understand the adverse effect, I think we shouldn't have been playing catch up, all the way through this step. I think a hard shutdown might have helped. I don't know. I'm not a professional in science and medicine, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, did I hear President-elect say he was going to do some type of 100-day lockdown or something like that? Yeah. I do think that it's going to be necessary because we're playing from behind. We've been playing catch up from day one. That's how I view it. I think it's even having a lockdown. Will it work? I don't know, but I think that's the thing to try.
Okay. Hey, Mike, when you talk, kind of hold your mic away from your shirt. It's catching it a little bit. Fred, what you think about the global lockdown?
Right.
Who that? Me?
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the same realm with Pastor Mike, man. I'm not a professional when it comes to it, but I kind of saw the curve when a couple other countries did it, and like you said, we're kind of behind the 8 ball now. And with the amount of lives that we lost, I don't think we can afford to gamble too hard. So I'm praying that whoever's going to make this decision, they kind of really gauge the life of the people, the habits of the people, and make a good conscious choice for the overall country, man, that we can kind of get a grip on this thing to some sort.
Bryson?
Well, I'm so conflicted. I think that's going to be my stance on everything today. Because on one hand, I love our nation. I want to say that very clearly. I love America. I love what America stands for and its ideals and its hope for a more better union.
Yeah.
And what makes America so unique and so special is the fact that we do espouse liberty and we espouse the individual. And what happens is with this lockdown, it really kind of goes against the grains to, I think, the most egregious aspect of violating the individuality of America and what it represents. I believe the federal government should not and does not have the scope or the latitude to impose such a lockdown on its people unilaterally. And I think if they continue to do that, and if they do it again, I think it will be a sign of things to come. Where so COVID-19 is an issue, so we're going to lock down every year around a certain time, or there's something else happening, and we have to shut you down because we're worried about everybody else. And although it's an ideal and it's honorable, it goes against the moral and the fabric of what America represents, and ultimately it puts more and more power into the hands of the government instead of the people. And as we all know, that when people get in power, it's very hard to relinquish it, and they don't want to. And so this scares me, and not even to consider the economic disparities and the economic downfalls. And then now the government shutting us down, and so they break our legs, and then they want to make us crutches and say, listen, we could give you 2,000, but we only give you 600 instead after we made this mistake for you. So it's like, let us live, let people decide. I think people should actually vote for it versus the governors and the government saying it. So that's my thought.
That's a good point. Calvin,
good point, man.
Calvin, what do you think about the lockdown?
Well, I guess I kind of I see everybody's point. I kind of more or less as Bryson has said, kind of conflicted. I think as Fred and Michael said, we're behind the curve. I even said that when we had one case in the U.S. that we should have did our shutdown at that moment. Why wait till we get 1,000 cases? It's easier to fix at one than you get 1,000 people who have it. So I can agree with that. As in that, I also can look at it on this end and say, if it's something that we have to deal with, if it's something like that's going to be around like the flu, if it's something that's going to be around like the common cold, it's deadly and probably more deadly than the flu. But if it's something we're going to have to live with, then we just going to have to learn to live with it. As Pastor Mike, Pastor Bryson just alluded to just a few minutes ago. When do we learn to, live with it? If we consider the lockdown to be the method that we deal with it with, then we never find a way to cope with it after the lockdown. Is what I think.
That's a good point. Yeah, man. I know something. I'm looking at it like it's a case by case thing, and I think voting for it. I think that is. I think that's a good measure, and I think everybody should govern themselves accordingly. You know what I'm saying? If you don't feel safe, you and your family don't go out. But if you do go out, wear a mask. Listen, the next topic is school.
Hey, let me jump back in right quick.
Go ahead.
You know what? I agree with what Pastor Bryson was saying. Like that's one of the things that, as much as I'm for a lockdown to try to cap this curve, like that one of the things I talked to my son about even was now they know they have the blueprint to control us. That's the scary part of it, because you can start off with something with noble intentions, but let me get churchy. The heart is desperately wicked. You know what I mean? And eventually, people use that to take advantage, to manipulate, to control. and that's the downside of it. But you know, it's like you said, it's a topic that you know you really can see it from both sides. You know what I mean? And from an economic standpoint, where I'm at, of course, it's easy for me to say shut it all down because it hasn't affected me. You know.
Absolutely. So, Fred, I want to ask you this question, man, because your wife is an educator. You know, you know y'all heavy in the education system in your city. With the COVID-19 closing the schools, how is that impacting the kids, man, with the online learning and stuff? What's going on, man? Is you seeing anything like a decline, or what's been your viewpoint on the schools being closed?
Well, I'm gonna use Pastor B. I'm kind of conflicted when it comes to that. Number one, my wife is an educator, so my son every summer is at a desk at 9 o'clock on schedule, doing work in the summertime until at least 2 o'clock. Like he has a break, lunch break, get back to work, another break, work, and then you know, what I mean, he's done for the day. So when he when he finishes or passes third grade, that summer my wife has him at a desk upstairs in my office behind me. And he's already working on the fourth grade curriculum. So this never affected my home from a learning perspective. My oldest son, it was his senior year when they thank God he got a chance to play a senior year basketball, but he lost prom. The graduation was kind of, you know, they finally let us have it, but it was, you know, I mean, the whole family couldn't come, only a couple people. It's affecting his college career right now because, I mean, certain games are getting cut. Just peeping in on my son's class, he misses the gathering, like being able to go to school, get up, get dressed, like that, going to school, hanging out with his buddies, because he loves school. Now, me just eavesdropping, real, I heard one little girl get 3 zeros. And my son goes to like he got accepted into like a magnet school. And I'm like, nah, you got accepted, but you got 3 zeros. So that lets me know that some kids aren't handling the balance of learning from home.
That transition,
you know what I'm saying? Because again, my son has already been programmed to work at home, while others may have not put their kids in that type of situation. So the pros and cons of it is, you know, he's able to stay home, and you know, we kind of watch after him that way. But the flip side of it is he loses the ability to, as he grows in maturity in his thinking, he's not challenged by his peers.
Well, from my personal experience, man, I had went back home to Michigan, and I saw some of the things that the kids had to deal with out there. You know, they didn't have laptops. They had, you know, they had Zoom class. They didn't have laptops, and then the adult wasn't tech savvy. So the kid would act like he do his work and say, "Oh, I turned it in," and he ain't turned it in. He ain't even did it. And you know, they don't know how to check the work and follow up. And
but again, education is one of the mountains, man.
Yes.
So if you could bring a great separation as it pertains to education, especially for the less fortunate, and a lot of times, let's be honest, that's the Black and brown community.
Yeah.
All right. Now you further the gap as it pertains to education. So I try to give my son that outlet. And this is what I presented to the mayor. Hey, you can renovate a community, but if you don't change the home, the face is going to show up. You can redo that park all you want to. That park is eventually going to look like the home if you don't allow some stuff to start changing in the home. So again, like Pastor Mike said, I don't want to be churchy, but hey man, we got to start setting principle and structure back in the home first, especially in the Black and brown community.
Absolutely. Who want to chime in? Who else got something to say on that topic?
Well, I want to say this, that with regards to, I mean, I agree 1,000% with what everyone is saying. And I think on one hand, I think the silver lining in this could be one, it it will force our children to adapt, and it has.
Yeah.
I think that, and it's forced everyone everywhere. I mean, let's just be honest, to adapt and to change, and to realize that what we have built up as an illusion of what life is really just that. It is an illusion. It is not a guaranteed thing. And I think we've had so much faith in how we've done things and the systematic approach to living, and the, I guess you could say, the industrialization of life, in that you do this, you go to school, you go to a building to work, you go to a building to worship, you go to a restaurant to date. All these things have been challenged, and we're seeing, okay, life is not that. Life is a mess. Life is a beautiful mess. And our children, unfortunately, and I guess you could say fortunately, are experiencing this adaptation at an early age. And I think what it's going to potentially do is create within them a level of, dare I say, a beast in them and in their mind. Whereas we can see the entitlement of certain generations, I think that the following generations won't have that same level of entitlement because of the austerity of the times that we're living in, and the change, and the fact that, wow, you know what, we didn't have this, but I made it. And so I think that's a good thing. My other concern, though, is with the teachers and the educators, like Pastor Thomas's wife and many of our friends and family who are in education. How do we deal with that? How do we protect the teachers who may not feel comfortable going to the buildings? Because here in New York, they're forcing the teachers to go to the building still, because they haven't reached the level of cases where they would say they were just restricted strictly to online. So I think that, it raises a question, for the teachers aspect, how do they adjust? Do they retire? Do they quit? Do they have rights? So it's a big mess of cluster. And, we're just trying to, just really see the good in it and adapt and just figure out what life looks like, and embrace the goodness of God in it.
All right, listen. So the next topic, mask. Now listen, I remember years ago, before the pandemic, I used to look on TV and look at them people in China and Japan, them Asian countries, and they would have a mask on. And I'd be like, man, I thought it was just because they had a high population. They got 1 billion people over there. And I was like, man, why they wearing those masks? Is it nasty over there? What is that? And now I see we got to do it. And so my question is, one, are you a no masker, a never masker? Do you believe in the mask? And two, are masks here forever? Go ahead, Mike. Well, Calvin.
Well, I just want to say, no, I do wear my mask. Do I believe in the mask? As far as say believe, no. And the reason I said it, I wear my mask, I guess, for fear of other people. My belief lies in God, and I know more people who have had masks on that has gotten COVID than people who walk around with no mask. So my belief is not in the mask. I put it on for people who are scared to be around me without the mask. As far as will we wear them forever? I hope not. I would say that because I have a hard time. My job is one of the policies now is all masks. You have to have your mask on. It's just as important as our safety glass. And they, for a moment there, they had to consistently tell me, pull your mask up, pull your mask up, pull your mask up. And so I hope not, because I'm still having issues with keeping it to where it needs to be at the right time. I get so, I guess you could say, my faith gets so strong in God that I want everybody to believe as me, but we live in a world where we have to understand that we all have different measures of faith in God. And what I believe God for, you may not necessarily believe God for that. And that's nothing wrong with that. I believe God can move the mountain. You may not believe God can move the mountain. And so I have to respect that as well. But to the answer, no, I hope we don't have to go forever with them.
Mike?
Man, I wear the mask because I don't want no smoke. From the law, from the job, I don't want no smoke. It's weird because I'm for the mask, but I'm against the mask. Like, the whole thing of the idea of, well, like right now, me and my wife, we working and trying to lay groundwork and stuff like that, just for what we want to build to in terms of, launching in the next few years. But as far as like going to church, like I refuse to go to church with a mask on. So right now, I'm gonna be back online watching you guys on Sunday because I'm not going into a building to worship to with no mask. That's my conviction. Like right now, if this is a prolonged thing and God sends us somewhere until we launch, then like Holy Spirit talk to me. If I'm too proud, if I'm not looking at this right, then move me in the right direction. But as far as right now is concerned, like that's just something I'm not willing to do.
So let me ask you this. So what's the issue with wearing it in church? You wear it when you go into the store. What's the issue with wearing it in church?
You know what? And
Do you
this
feel like it's
this
against your faith?
this might be wrong thinking, but like I don't want to go into that environment of where it's supposed to be a spiritual freedom and have to deal with that. I can't say that it's no deep spiritual conviction or anything like that. Just me personally, the idea of having to go to church and like I don't like the idea of going to church and we was elbowing and fist bumping the last time we went to church. Like most of us growing up in black churches, we hug, we shake hands and stuff, and it's so the awkwardness. I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
That's my personal thing. And right now, it's more convenient for me to listen to my guys online on Sunday morning. I got a true relationship with God in the first place, and then presently there's no place in the city that I want to go to anyway, just from my own personal doctrinal standpoint. So it's working out. But again, if this thing continues and that's going to be like a mandate then Lord, if I'm looking at this wrong, show me, open my eyes to it.
Can I say something before you go?
Go ahead.
I want to say I agree with Pastor Mike so much because I leave house with this mask on and I get to church and I have to lay this thing down and I have to go back and I have to grab it and I mean it's just I'm like him. My faith is just so strong in God that when I'm in his house, I just know that if he kept me out there, he gonna protect me in here. And I don't try to scare people, like I said, people are a little leery of it, but I forget that it's there and I just leave it and I'm like him as far as the fellowship, the hugging, the being around, altar call and holding hands. I mean, those things is just what I'm accustomed to. And yeah, we've altered a little bit. I understand being that we've been back since June, which was the Sunday before Father's Day, that we've actually been back in service. And it's different. It's different. And I'm just truly praying. That's why I say I'm truly praying that we get to a place where we could embrace like we once have, but not being scared of one another.
Shoot, man, when I feel the unction and function, dog, hey, I'm gonna tell y'all about me, man. My wife had to like, hey, get your mask. Hey, I be at it. You know what I mean? I had to go preach in Mobile a couple of weeks ago. And man, when I say the power of God hit, I looked over at my armor bearer. I was like, man, I feel like working. The pastor hollered out, apostle hollered out, let him use you. Before I knew it, I put the mic down. I said, hey, you come in. And at that time, I wasn't thinking about no COVID. I'm like, Lord, if you're gonna let me catch COVID for doing what you called me to do, let's be real. I might well go back to Teasers, Magic City. We might well just go and have a good time. Hey, Pastor Bryson said we might well go and have a good time. I said, at that moment,
faith.
Hey, it's time to work now. So I hadn't stopped laying hands. And, through the whole pandemic, I've been laying hands the whole night.
I have to.
Hopefully you got some sanitizer close by though.
Hey, they be hitting me up, dog. They be hitting me up when I do it too.
Yeah,
hey, I do what I have to do, boss man, and I'm hitting the next one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
My wife do.
What about the conflict here when you look at like how the black church was hit? See, I agree with what you and Pastor Daphne said, but then I look at all of these black folks that died in church after church conferences after. It's just
again. I do it spirit led. Some of these conferences ain't spirit led, boy.
Talk about it.
You know what I'm saying? Some of the conferences ain't spirit led.
Right there.
Yeah.
Some of them are trying to salvage a yearly budget.
Absolutely.
Come on now, you know.
That's key. That's key. You got to follow the spirit because you will catch it and not the Holy Ghost. I'm telling you, catch that COVID. Right.
Yeah. anything God promotes you to do, He's gonna cover you in it.
That's right.
That's just the way I feel. So I'm like you, and we haven't stopped either. If they'll let me pray for them, I'm gonna pray for them. If they'll let me lay hands, I'm gonna lay hands. But if I call you, it's because God told me to. It's not cause I'm trying to play. And we've experienced COVID there at the church. I've had at least 5 or 6 of the members with one of my members now that frequent there that has COVID now, and God has still kept me. I've sat there at my job with people who had COVID. Right there, the next day they gone, and I'm still at work. God has still kept me. So I just trust God. That's just me. I just trust.
Well, my God,
I want to say this. I'm Team Hendrix, and I'm like mask on, off, mask off. You know, take the spirit.
Has to be, man.
He talking about
That's to be wild, man.
Don't know what he talking about. Mask
That's
on.
to be wild.
I'm Team mask off. But here's the beauty part, right? I mean, like, I live in one of the most strict regions here in New York City.
New York, man.
Extremely liberal, and so everything is going to be far left in everything they do. And I wear the mask because obviously, I respect people, but then at the same time, I do it because I'm really looking out for the people that I minister for too. Because it's like, okay, I hate doing this, but I'm doing this even though I don't believe in the efficacy of the masks, because statistically and scientifically, it's not making that big of a difference. Because it's, bandana's not going to help nobody, but that's another story. But the point is this, is that I've got people who come to church and who need to hear from me. And so I think as their man of God, I have to do my best to protect myself and to make sure that I'm keeping myself in the best possible position so that I can continue to provide what they need and not put them at risk by my own behavior. So, even though I am Team Future with mask off personally, it's like, I do this for the culture.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I do it for the culture as well, brother. Listen, man. I'm conflicted about the mask. I wear it because I kind of look at it like everybody got the cooties, so I don't want the cooties. So I wear the mask. It's more psychological for me because, as you remember, Dr. Fauci said in the beginning, he lied publicly to the people saying that you shouldn't wear the mask. And the reason why he lied is because he didn't want us to buy up the mask because the first responders needed the mask. But instead of saying, hey, create your mask or don't buy up the mask, he tells you, don't use the mask. Actually, if you put on the mask wrong, you will hurt yourself worse than even if you didn't have the mask on. It didn't make sense. And then he comes out, and we can be informed by new information. New information can inform your decisions. I'm with that. But then he says, okay, put the mask on. And so now you got the conflict. I think masks are the part of the future. I think it's going to be the new wave. I think we're going to be kind of like China was and is. And I think it's going to be a fashion statement. You see everybody got the Gucci mask on and the lips on their face and all of that. I've seen all different types of them. So I think that's where we're moving. As far as worship go, we're about to get into that on the next topic, which is going to lead us into it. Virtual everything. Since COVID-19, the playing field has been leveled. I know in the church space where we operate in, some of the big ministries, they can't feel this edifice. They can't feel the building. Now they have to get online like everybody else. We are all online, and we are all competing for souls, not competing against each other, but competing against the enemy. And so we got school virtually, we got worship virtually, we got verses, we got everything's virtual. Is this the future? I mean, we just seen Cyber what is it? What, Cyber Sunday, Cyber Monday, and Black Friday, the highest grosses online sales ever. People are changing their business models to reflect virtual purchasing and stuff. Is this the new wave? Bryson, lead us off.
Well, what's interesting about this is that I don't believe it is. I think it's definitely going to be a lull. I think we have to adjust and to really deal with the obvious danger and risks that are at hand. But the bigger thing is this: economically, here in America, as long as we are somewhat driven by capitalism and the economics, I think that you can't do it. It just won't work because you will continue to damage, I think, the economy overall. Now, unless there is a tremendous reset and we do happen to dive into what appears to be a Depression era type a restructuring of society and the way we do things, I think that the physical has to happen. From a sporting perspective, from a restaurant perspective, from a travel perspective, it's just too many industries that require the physical presence of people. And I don't think our nation is going to allow, those things to suffer. So although hybrid is great and we have to figure out a way to work around it, it just can't sustain it because it's too much money to be made. And, being as money driven and as debt riddled our nation is, we need every way. Ain't gonna be enough billionaires to tax if we keep it up.
Mike, you had a follow up?
Yeah, I agree with Bryson. Like the American economy, the American mindset, the American philosophy, we're going to figure out a way to make money. Like all of the revenue lost from the sports and stuff like that, because of how they've had to adjust, they're going to figure out a way to sell out arenas again, some type of way. Even if that just means we'll deal with this for a time and then we'll take the risk, because I think one of the big things is like we're going to get to a place where people are just going to just be kind of that uprise, that swell, that voice that says, I'm not staying in anymore, So I don't think that virtual everything is, I think it's here to stay from as Bryson said, from a hybrid perspective, but I don't think it's here to stay to be the new norm.
Okay. Fred.
Hey, I agree with both of my brothers, man.
What about you, Calvin?
I agree. I don't think it's here to stay. I just think that I just believe that, as I said earlier, that they'll find a way to live with it, as we've done most of the things that have came in our presence or in our way. I do agree with you, though. It definitely, for some, it created a 11-player field. For most of us, as me and some of the others, we've already utilized it as the best of the ability that we could. So it did definitely put a lot of us on the same platform, so to speak.
Can I add this real quick to that, because I think it's so true. I know we're trying to get to unrest and whatnot, and I'm to put on my MAGA hat. And
I got a blue one. You got one of red?
Mine is purple. I don't have a MAGA hat. I would never be caught wearing one of those. Hallelujah. But here's the deal, though. It's like, with what Calvin was saying was that regards to the ministry portion, what's interesting is that we were on the same level playing field, but it's just the evolution of it. See, when it first started, nobody knew what they was doing. I think every church had the opportunity to get viewers. But in the same way that church ministry has evolved, now think about it, from March of last year to where we are headed in the new year, it's totally different. Online church is totally different from what it was when it first started. So even though, smaller churches had a chance to catch up, now the bigger churches have regrouped. They put more money in, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in production.
Pay for an online pastor now.
And they've just made the mega church again. And so now, it's right back to the same imbalance, you know what I mean, that we had before, which is proving the point that in regards to economy and big business, it's going to be the same thing. They're going to find a way to restructure and to get what they need out of it.
Wow.
Good point, man.
Anything else they want to add to that? All right, let's get into the next category, political unrest. Listen, this happened. It seemed like it happened forever ago, but this just happened in February. The impeachment of President Donald Trump. Now, was this a distraction? Because some say one of the reasons why he didn't respond, or his administration, not just his administration, but the Senate and the Congress didn't respond to coronavirus in January when I was making videos talking about it, telling my people to get ready. Some people say they was distracted by this. And he was distracted and everybody else was distracted by this impeachment. Was it a distraction? What do you think about this impeachment? Whoever want to hop in.
Okay. Well, I'll say this, that I feel like it definitely, I don't think it was a distraction as much as it was a disgrace. And me trying to be preacher and get alliteration here. I think it was a dereliction of duty. If we're using D's, I got my Baptist brothers here with me. So,
very well, man.
So I mean, I think of like this, this was a witch hunt. This was something that was so far off. They were trying to strain at gnats, and I don't think they saw it coming. But what it did prove was that, to me, is that the games they've been playing for the past 4 years of trying to unseat and to delegitimize the election of President Trump just came to a halt. And it just so happened to be at the moment where their attention could have been better used potentially other places, that they were playing these games. And still, a year later, we're still caught playing games politically. And, it'll never stop, unfortunately.
My God. And when you say they, who are you talking about?
You know what I'm talking about. Well, I mean, I think when it comes to the dereliction of duty, I'm thinking specifically to the leaders of the Democratic Party that were so anti-Trump and Trump deranged.
Pelosi,
Schumer, Schiff, Maxine Waters. All these people are just from Russia, all this, all that. The phone call, all this, and just really trying to reverse what happened in 2016. And now, we're saying everything is anti-Trump. Even the stimulus could have happened in the fall, but Nancy Pelosi refused to cooperate. And so, we're 3 months behind because of these games. Now, again, I'm not saying that the Republican Party are without fault or without error or liability in this, but I am saying, though, that the majority of the angst and the attention has been on every single thing wrong and trying to prove the president wrong, that we can't even get anything right. And I'm going to add this too, is that even if you think about the vaccine, where the president said that the vaccine was going to be done this year, record time, they spent their energy trying to say, like, he's not going to happen, he's a liar, blah, blah, blah. I mean, like, anything comes out of his mouth, they're against it. And here we are, the same people who said it couldn't happen are the same ones trying to get us to get a shot in our arms. And I can tell you where they can take that shot. So,
yeah.
Who's going to respond to Pastor Bryson?
Now, he about summed it up.
Man, listen. It was definitely a distraction. When you're talking about that vaccine, Fauci got up there and said it was numerically impossible for us to have a vaccine in less than 5-10 years. You know what I'm saying? He said if we had a vaccine in 24 months, that would be lofty. And now he's saying stick the needle in the arm, stick the needle in the arm, stick the needle in the arm. That's crazy. Let's move on to the next topic. The stimulus check. You know what I'm saying? Where my money at, man?
Stimmy.
Listen, is they gonna give us some more money? I mean, they passed the 600. Trump played with it. I feel like he gave up his leverage. He had the veto power. He was like, listen, I'm gonna veto this bill unless y'all go back and get some money. At the last minute, he says yes to the 600. I know people need the 600. But now the Republicans ain't got to add you know what I'm saying, 14 more hundred on to it. Do you think that the Republicans are going to allow the people to get $2,000 stimulus checks that everybody needs? Go ahead, Fred.
I'm gonna sum it up in one or two statements, man. If it's something they want, yes. If they gonna give it, they want something in return. So people got to understand that this is not free money. If it's given, I promise you somebody else is getting something in return. So that's my stance on it, boss. It could come, could not. It just all depends on what they want, man. So that's where I'm at with it.
Mike?
Hey, he just spoke the truth. And let me say it too. I think everything that Pastor B just said about the previous topic, he just spoke the truth.
Facts.
I love it. Calvin, you got something to say about it? Oh, no, this is what I want to say to you, Calvin. So I don't know if you remember, but a few months ago, I call them your tune in. When you say tune in, that's all you put on that tune in. I mean tune in, you got a word for us. I remember you said something, and it was so powerful. You was like, some people needed Corona. You said if it wasn't for Corona, they wouldn't have got that stimulus check. He said some people didn't have no money. Their lights, their water was off. They didn't have no rent. And because of Corona, some money came out of nowhere, and they was able to put some food on the table. He said somebody needed Corona. I said, my God. What do you think about this stimulus check, man? You think they're going to let us get it?
I don't know if they'll let us get it. I'm still trying to figure out what happened to my last 1,200, because they ain't never sent me that last 1,200 I was trying to get.
Come on.
I'm not sure. I'm definitely not sure about the 2,000. I would agree with Pastor Fred, as he said, if they can get what they want on the return end, then yes. I do believe, though, that it's needed. Somebody, we see all these things on Facebook where, people go to bashing folk because they say, I want my $600 or I want my $2,000. And we go to bashing them automatically. Well, if you need that little bit of money, you must be broke. And I'm just like this right here. The more money I can add, if you're going to give me 600, if you're going to give me 100, if you're going to give me 8, if you're going to give me 2,000, I want it. I don't care if I got $1 million in the bank. If you're going to give me $2 more thousand, I want it. And so I think it will help people. Here's what it does. And this is what I meant with COVID. And I said this, I'm done. A lot of people were struggling, but they kept their struggles to themselves. They didn't tell nobody they needed nobody. They didn't tell nobody my lights were finna get cut. They didn't tell nobody that if something don't happen at the end of this month, I'm gonna get put out. But because of COVID, it allowed us to get extension on light bills. It allowed us to get some no eviction notice. It allowed us to be able to struggle, and I didn't have to necessarily tell you what I was struggling with, because we know that we're scared now that when we say stuff to people, they're going to put our business out. So now it gave me a way to take care of some things that were needed. In other words, there were some folks praying to God and said, Lord, I just need things to slow down. What happened when COVID came?
My God.
The world came to a standstill. Because what I believe is there's some people that God allowed that even though I can't slow you down, I'll allow the world to slow down so you can catch up.
My God.
Wow.
And that's just what I believe. And so I do believe that people need it. So with the plan backwards and forward, as Fred has said, as Pastor Mike has said, as even Bryson said a few minutes ago, I think we don't take into consideration who all is affected when you play.
My God.
Wow, that's a strong statement.
So listen.
Can I add this about the STEMI?
Go ahead.
The STEMI. I can't believe we're calling it that. Fred saying that. I was like, what the heck?
STEMI, can't you see?
Yeah. Sometimes your ways. Come on. Listen, here's the deal. I think this. So I have a very libertarian type perspective when it comes to government and politics. And it's like, okay, do you want a push into socialism, or do we want to allow the austerity of the times to cause us to rise back better? And for me, when I think about the stimulus check, I believe it or not, I know people are hurting. I'm against it from a principle perspective. Only because, again, one, the government is responsible for us shutting down, first of all. So the government is the reason why we can't go to work. We don't have the choice or the ability to try to survive on our own, where we are left depending on $600 or $2,000, number one. Number two, from the perspective of, think about it. I mean, we're Black men, so we understand the plight of the inner city and the domestication of the Black man and the Black woman through entitlements from the projects, right? Now, what happens when we get entitlements? How hard is it for us to get off of it? Now, if they start dangling thousands of dollars in front of us, do you think it's going to be any different than them holding us hostage in the same way that they held us hostage, and they are still holding us generationally hostage in our living arrangements? They're telling us who can stay with who, you can come here, but only if you don't have a husband or a man. Or you can, you have to, limit your income capacity so you can qualify for this benefit. And I feel like it will stifle us. I feel like again, this is just, and I know this sounds so harsh, but hear my heart. I'm not saying that people don't need it and it's not hard, but I'm thinking from the long-term perspective of what is it going to do to our country? Because they're itching and yearning to try to make a way to where they can start paying us money every month, which on paper is good. But like, I don't want the government to feed me. Just allow me to live and give me the access equally to everything that I need so that I can pursue life, liberty, and happiness. I don't want you to do anything for me, because if you keep doing stuff for me, you're going to take more away from me.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
That's a good point, man.
I mean, I agree with it. I do believe that, some people will use it as a crutch. And if they did give us yearly stipends, okay, say we were blessed, every African American, every descendant of a slave person in America, say they gave us reparations, and that came in the form of a monthly stipend of, say, $1,000 or $1,500 dollars a month. You know what I'm saying? I got some relatives that are Native Americans. They get, based off of how old they are, they get money. The kids get $500, the adults get $1,000. When you get 50, you get $1,500 in perpetuity for the rest of your life. Now, one could say, okay, you can look at some of those people and some of those reservations and things and see how people are living and say that maybe the fact that the government is giving them this money that is contributing to it. But at the same time, if you look at it right now, on the East Coast, where you at, Bryson, we got one of the worst snowstorms that's about to happen. They talking about blackouts.
Another one?
Yeah, they talking about a blackout. Electric blackout that's going to blanket the whole East Coast, and they don't know for how long. We talking about food lines that's around the building, especially out here in Texas. They talking about that it's a new strain of COVID that was ravaging Europe that's 70% more contagious, and they found the strain. They found two of them in Colorado. One of the guys has never traveled outside of where his town. So we got a new strain running around. People gonna need the money, and people ain't working. And I know they're gonna be slowing people, telling people you can't go to work, shutting down restaurants and stuff. So people need the money. And my personal viewpoint, if one of those politicians if they vote against raising it to $2,000 or compromising, bringing it back, bring it to 15, bring it to 12, but more than 600, if you vote against raising it, I feel like you're an enemy of the people, because it's our taxpayer money. We paying the taxes. So we can't get it back, but you sending aid to all these different governments and stuff. I mean, that's just how I feel about it. The next topic is the presidential election. Was it stolen? What happened? Trump still fighting. He's still fighting. Did they steal it? Mike?
The results is the results, man. The results is the result. They didn't They didn't steal it. This is what I'm gonna say, and I don't have a MAGA hat, but this is what I'm gonna say. They did enough to me. The Democrats did enough to make Trump the enemy to where people voted against the man,
right,
versus looking at policy, comparing policies, apple to apple. They got people to hate a man, and in order to, because think about it, how many man, I don't even want to talk politics. No, it wasn't stolen, but they had 4 years to make us hate this guy enough to where it didn't matter what he did, didn't matter what the party did, didn't matter what the policy was, where they was gonna get him out of office. And I feel like that is an injustice, whether or not the election was actually stolen at the ballots or not. It was hijacked before then. Hijacked before then.
My God. Who want to? I'm gonna wait on you, Bryson.
So basically, you saying it was mentally hijacked.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well,
Calvin, what you say?
Can I say this? And I don't believe that it was stolen, but I will say this, and I'm not to disagree with anything that Mike has said, but I guess, and as Bryson said, I don't want to get biblical, but when we say that, there's nothing new for us under the sun as far as to God, so can the outcome be a God outcome? Can the outcome be what God has already foreseen and said that on this day this is what was gonna happen? Now, I'm not saying that that Pastor Mike notion as far as the tools that was taken, that was used to get him out of office or to get people to dethrone him, so to speak. But couldn't it have been God's? I guess you could say. I'm not saying God chose him, but I'm saying nothing sneaks by God. So God already knew who would be in, is what I'm saying.
I agree.
So I agree with that 100% because I believe in the sovereignty of God. But especially in our culture, in our black church, we wasn't saying that when Trump was elected in. He didn't get that. We didn't get that. We didn't get that when he was elected in.
Let me
a lot of people were saying, "How could you say God put him in there?"
Let me say this, and I've encountered that, and I think Pastor Fred will back me up when I say this. I don't talk politics. Everybody knows that. I really don't get into it. As Pastor Bryson said, politics causes you to lose a lot of friendships. So I don't do a lot of politics. But as Dr. Thomas will tell you, that I've encountered some people that told me, if you think that I've even called people out that say, well, Trump ain't my president. I said, well, then we hypocrites. I said, because we was mad at our counterparts when they said Obama wasn't their president.
Yeah.
So we was upset because everybody called Obama. Mm-hmm. But now I'm not calling him president, he's Trump. But we want to respect on Obama, but we didn't want to respect Trump. When the Bible clearly says, obey those that have rule and authority over us. Regardless of whether we liked it, he's our president. Sorry about that. Regardless of whether we liked it, he's our president. And until January of whatever, I don't know the exact date, until that date, Trump is still the president.
January 20th.
Until President Biden or President-elect Biden is sworn in. So I agree with you. There was a lot of people that I wasn't one of them, and I corrected people on every end to let them know that you're doing to President Trump what you didn't want done when Obama was in office. And when you say he's not your president, then you're basically seeing him, because the Bible says when you know right, you do right. And that's wrong. That's wrong. So I've been there.
Great point. But what I will say, you don't see a lot of this viewpoint right here from people with our skin on TV Fred, Fred, what you was gonna say?
Hey, I'm in agreement. I'm waiting on Pastor B, bro.
Go ahead, preach.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting on Pastor B. Hey, you see how that slid up, man? I'm waiting on Pastor B, man.
A do-rag for the dreads he got.
Listen, man. I'm out here like this. You know, I don't know if it's stolen. I think it's awkward. And to pair it what Mike said, to see a guy who they hated Trump so much that we have a guy who was the worst, one of the worst in the primaries, gets the most votes in history. I think it just makes no sense, and it is all because they've made President Trump a certain way. Now that's just the nature of the beast. As far as whether it was stolen or not, I think he has every right to pursue it and to explore every option for that. I don't take it negatively, especially when you consider what's happened the past 4 years of how the Democrats have used their power in every loophole and every trick to try to oust President Trump from his seat, whether it be from scandalizing his name, fake charges and fake, pulling up everything they can from his past, trying to just do stuff that's outlandish. So I think that he should still do that. And if it's stolen, great. If it's not, I hope that he's able to accept it and be able to move forward. I do think this, though, that with regards to what Calvin was saying, which is so powerful, is that we have a bias when it comes to President Trump. We're not even saying he's not even our president. We're just giving him a number, 45. Yeah, 45. I mean, even great bishops and leaders are saying stuff like that. I'm like, yo, how can we, as the moral leaders of what Christianity is supposed to look like, just disrespect authority just because we don't like him? And it hurts my heart. But you reap what you sow. One, and I think to what Mike said also, and maybe it was Calvin, that who knows this is what God is doing, and I think that God is so dope that He lifts us up so that we can be able to push forward in spite of it all. And I look at it like that because we got these wicked agendas that we don't even know are being entered in. That are, of course, every party has wicked agendas here in my heart. I'm not saying Republicans are just God's choice, nor am I saying that the Democrats are, the devil's choice. But I am saying this, that people have, there's things that they're going to push for, namely like defunding the police, namely like, this transgender BS. And I say that in the most respectful way, as far as pushing it on our children. When you talk about, the opening of our borders and the sovereignty of America, it's just a lot of stuff that is going to be compromised now. And, we didn't even know it. We just want Trump out of there.
I agree with you. Next topic, defund the police. Do we really want that in our community? I mean, they talking about now, I'm hearing people say, well, it's just a slogan. We don't really want to defund the police. We want to take resources from here and throw it over here, and we want maybe some psychiatrists to accompany them or to make some calls for them or whatever. Defund the police sound like defund the police, and I don't know if you want Brooklyn or Chicago or Houston or LA to for their police department to be defunded. I think that this was some trend that was sparked by organizations like Black Lives Matter and other fringe groups who use these platforms to try to push an extreme left agenda. You know what I'm saying? And defund the police. Now, it's bad apples everywhere. Right. And I grew up not liking the police. You know what I'm saying? The police, I grew up in my hood, we didn't like the police because when the police came, that meant trouble. That means somebody was going to jail or somebody was getting beat up. So I grew up not really appreciating the police. But I tell you right now, I'm paying taxes and I ain't doing nothing wrong. And if I call the police, I want them to come. And I feel like if you defund the police, they ain't coming. What y'all got to say?
That's a hard no for me, boss.
Pastor Fred said a hard no.
Yeah, it's a hard no, man.
Defund the police.
Well, I've heard the discussion about what's going on. Like it doesn't mean what it sounds like. So, like, okay, if it doesn't mean what it sounds like, educate me. But
Yeah.
like, I kind of feel what, like you said, when you look at these communities that are, crime-ridden communities, like you want to defund the police. That's really what you want to do. I don't understand that. So, even if you're gonna put them into if you're going to take the finances and put them into more social, I don't know, helps, assistance programs, whatever the case may be, like still that means if you're going to cut a police budget, you're going to cut a police force. And when you hear a lot of time these cities that are crime ridden, one of the biggest things is they don't have enough police officers in the first place. So you're going to cut the police force and try to do work around. So I don't know, man. That, like, I need to be educated better, I guess, because defund the police sound like defund the police, and I'm against it just on that.
Yeah. I
Can
do
I
believe
say this?
that. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, host. I don't want to mess your flow up, brother.
Oh no, I was gonna say I do believe that it needs to be some better training. I think we need to
Yeah.
demilitarize the police, but defund them. I'm not. I'm totally against that. Go ahead, Bryson, real quick.
Oh man, real quick. All right. So ironically, in our line of profession as men of God, we have a lot of people who have these brilliant ideas of what it means to be pastors. And they say, you should do this, y'all should do that. And these are people who've never walked a mile, a foot, an inch in our shoes, who want to tell us what to do and how to move and what we should be doing. And ironically, it's the same way for this defund the police movement. These are people who have never walked a foot in the shoes of these brave men and women who put their lives on the line every single day to protect people who swear to hate them. Now, again, I'm not, of course, as everyone said, we know there's bad apples in everything from pastors, from parents to politicians to everything. So this is no way, shape, or form giving a pass to racist bigots and idiots who abuse their power. But like, you can't tell somebody how to do their job if you've never walked a day in their shoes, to not know what it's like to have your life on the line every single time you put on that uniform. It's just like, and you're going to say defund them because they're all this, they need that. I'm like, nah. When you become a cop and you do that for a couple of years, then I'll listen to what you have to say. Until then, kindly defund things. Hey, see what I say is New Year's.
So listen. So next question, and I'm gonna move it along. A little bit. Can Uncle Joe fix it? Like we just said in the opening video, he been a senator for 50 years. He wrote the crime bill. You know what I'm saying? He was vice president for 8 years. Can he fix what he helped create? And on top of that, the man, and I'm not talking about ageism, because, I listen to some people who are, I don't know, is it sectarians? I don't know what it is, 70, 80-year-old people, right? But this man is 80 years old. Matter of fact, he's 79. He just turned 79 a couple of weeks ago. And our top 3 leaders, the president-elect, who will be president, he's 79. Mitch McConnell, who's the head of the Senate, is 80. And Pelosi is 80. So we got 3 of these people have been in government my whole entire lifetime. And I'm 50 years old. So they all voted to go to war. They all voted for all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And now he's talking about he can fix it. And not only that, like Bryson said, he almost had to drop out after Iowa. Kamala Harris dropped out before Iowa. If it wasn't for the black folks, if it wasn't for Jim Clyburn, Bernie would be the president-elect right now, possibly. So can he fix it? Do y'all believe Uncle Joe got what it takes? And then I believe Joe is got dementia or something. I think he done lost a step. When you look at him, when he reads the teleprompter, they say he got a stutter, but really it looked like he was confused and different types of things. And then you don't see him. When he has an event, it takes him about a week or 2 to prepare. They disappearing for like a week or 2, and then they prepare him to roll him out. I don't think he up to task, and I think it's weak. I think it's gonna be a hard presidency. What y'all think?
I'm gonna say this. I think the man is brilliant. Although my preference is President Trump, between these two people, I think Joe Biden is, I think, better than Kamala and or Bernie Sanders when it comes to stemming the tide of extreme liberalism. Number one, and so I'm an extreme left agenda. So I think Joe Biden can do so, but I think he will be hogtied because or stifled because of the push from the AOCs, this new crop of progressive Democrats that are really looking to be very extreme and progressive in what they want to do, that they will create a hindrance for him. So he will basically, I think, be a lame duck. And also, depending on how Georgia goes, if the man who claims Jesus, except when it's for political issues that confront what Jesus has to say.
Who you talking about?
I'm talking about the so-called Reverend Warnock, who for political expediency will violate Christian and kingdom principles. But whatever. But God bless him, and I pray that the Lord strengthen him. But if the Republicans win, there's nothing being passed. So in the Senate, the Republicans win the Senate, nothing's going to reach his desk for at least 2 years. So I think he's going to have a hard time just because of the state of the game.
I agree.
Who else got something?
I just think he's gonna have a hard time from the simple fact when you say, can he fix it? I just don't think, and I know we're not trying to go deep. I just don't think a mortal man can fix it.
My God.
I just don't think. I mean, I really don't think it matters who you put in the seat. I think the condition of what we deal with, a mortal man can't fix. That's just me.
Well, I agree with that, but I feel like God gives us a will, and He allows us to smash a car. You know what I'm saying? He allows us to crash it, and oftentimes when we crash the car, He gave us a will to crash the car. It's not His fault, and it's not His will that we crash the car. And so I believe that it's going to take God to fix this situation, but He needs somebody to work with, and I don't know if Joe Biden is in. All right, next category, and we're gonna speed up a little bit. Most podcasts is 3 hours. We gonna shoot.
Yeah, most podcasts are 3 hours.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's 4-5.
Joe Rogan is a unicorn, man.
Yeah, unicorn.
So listen, 2020 has been a year of civil unrest, man. We know all the story about Mr. George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor. Those just 3 of the many deaths of people that was killed from evil, whether it was from police officers or just people just plain evil. What you thought about this, man? Did 2020 make you feel like things were ever going to change? Like we're gonna turn that corner? I mean, they've been killing us for years. Do you think that the George Floyd death and the defund the police and all this attention on policing, do you think that's gonna change the trajectory of how we're gonna be as a people and get killed? Fred?
Man, this is a very sensitive subject, man. This is what I believe. I believe that the generation that's coming, with the tipping scale of George Floyd death, man, I never, like here in Dothan, they had somewhat of a rally at the courthouse. When we got out of church, we were actually going to look at a building. And this is the honest God having truth. Now, we in the South. When I rode by the courthouse in Dothan, Alabama, there were more white Americans out there holding signs than Black Americans. And at that moment, in my heart, I felt that if the people could bind together, we could kind of shift what is going on, man. George Floyd was one of the rare cases that, when I say stretch across the globe, man, it stretched across the globe, and it was kind of hard to unsee it, to the point to where even if you had those type of feelings against another race, man, but preferably the black and brown race, if your heart didn't tell you that was wrong, man, you know what I mean?
You're a demon.
Facts. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't know how to sugarcoat that, man.
Yeah.
And I think that viewing and that situation, man, touched the hearts of so many people. I'm just praying it's not like 9/11, that you feel it for a minute, and once everything is back up running, you do your thing again.
That's how I feel it is. I think it's microwave.
Yeah.
I think we moved on to the next one.
Yeah.
Anybody else got any feedback on these horrific deaths?
I'll say this, and I pray that people can hear my heart on this. With regards to Ahmaud Arbery, I think that was tragic and unfortunate when you have civilians coming to try to play the role of police. Yeah. And I think that needs to definitely be stopped and put an end to immediately. Yeah. Number two, I think with Breonna Taylor, I think what we see is the final. I mean, finally, we're addressing no-knock warrants, which are dangerous, which are the cause of what happened with her and that issue, and how everyone would protect their families. I think every single one of us men would do everything in our power if people just barged into our home. Somebody's gonna catch a round. Somebody's going. I don't care who you are. You just can't do that and expect people not to respond. So I think that you see government and politicians really moving away from no-knock warrants, which I think is honorable. As far as with George Floyd, believe it or not, it's just sad what happened, and I think that the reach of his death has gone beyond him and it's turned into something else. And I think that what we're seeing is it's a way for people to almost kind of clout chase politically, unfortunately. Yeah. Because we see a lot of these movements and these responses that are because of George Floyd have nothing to do with George Floyd. And so that's where my heart hurts for that, because we're missing the main point of it, just so that we can continue to be mad and to push things that actually, are more damaging to our community.
Wow. Okay, let's go to the next one. 2020, marches, protests, and riots. It's the difference. Like he just said, when I look on TV and I seen them riots and people busting in them stores and stuff, them was white kids. You know what I'm saying? When even out here in Houston, right? When the George Floyd marches and protests broke out all across the country, and like the brother said, it went worldwide. It was all the way into Europe. You know what I'm saying? At some point, it stopped being about George Floyd. And out here in Houston, I started seeing people who in my family and different people going out there to the march for a photo op, like just to get out the house. Like we was on a lockdown. Like people got out and went to gather because it was something to do. And some people were genuine. I believe they was genuine. They was out standing for injustice. But I seen people out there like hashtag George Floyd, with the pictures and all of that. And they was probably out there for a few minutes. Then they went back into their suburbia house. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like, there was a lot of protests that broke out. You had the Women's March. You had all these different marches going on, protesting Trump, all this other stuff. But I think that those riots and those protests were hijacked by, I don't know if it's Antifa or whoever it is, I don't know. But I seen black folks telling white folks would have a mask on. You could see the white of their eyes and they busting windows, and you would see young black kids and girls come out, no, stop that. Stop breaking stuff. Y'all messing up the movement, this and that. That was what I saw. It was crazy. Who got some thoughts on these marches, protests, and riots in 2020?
I'll say this, and I know I'm talking a lot, and I apologize, gentlemen. First of all, I want to say I agree 1,000%. They've definitely been hijacked. You talk about what's happening in Seattle with the CHOP. You talk about what happened in Oregon, the 100 days of civil unrest on behalf of BLM and Black Lives Matter. I mean, come on. Like that's not even how we move, first of all. I mean, even as a culture. and stuff like that. So there's principles and things that are trying to be used to push other agendas, which is what scares me about this altogether. Number two, and finally, I will say this, that what it's also, and for me again, I'm anti BLM 1000%. I think that the idea and the concept, of course, our lives matter. I am a black man. I have a black son. I have black parents and a black sister. And I love you, black brothers. So, of course, I'm for the value of our lives, 1000%. But when I think about what BLM represents beyond its stated mission and its movement, it's demonic and it's evil. And what can only happen is that when you seek to to move forward with unrighteous principles and demonic influence, you will only produce a demonic and an unrighteous result. So we are reaping what is being sown by the uplifting and the propagation of the BLM movement, which is 100% anti-God, 100% unrighteous at its core, and it is demonic at its root. And so we can't help but it.
Sexual.
Come on. Now you can't say this, but I'll say it because
we're not representing the churches that we run. This is a free platform. If you can vote, if you cast your vote, you have your right to an opinion and an idea. So, and then you your own boss. You know what I'm saying? So I used to say, don't confuse being wireless with being powerless. See, I ain't answering to nobody. I ain't plugged into nobody, so I can have my own thought and viewpoint. Go ahead, brother. Bryson, you was
I was done. Listen, I'm not gonna hog it. Trust me, because I can go.
All right, so listen, man, what y'all think about these guys trying to kidnap the governor of Michigan? These militiamen.
One word. Wow.
Say what?
I said one word. Wow.
Wow.
Wow, man.
Now listen. Now these the same guys that went into the state capitol with semi-automatic weapons, with assault rifles, and they went inside of the state capitol of Michigan and they held camp, and it was by law they could do it, and the state police protected them. And this same group was practicing and plotting to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer and hold her on trial for COVID-19 restrictions. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, these people have bought into this anti-government rhetoric, and to the point where they're thinking that the government trying to use COVID-19 to seize our rights, to seize our land, to make a police state, and they ready to fight for it. Which brings me to my next section. I mean, the NFA, the not fucking like FRUCK around coalition, like Larry Reed say. With Grandmaster Jay, what you think about these brothers? Is they the real deal, or is they a plant? Some people say that he a plant. What y'all think about the NFA coalition, the black militia that's standing up for black folks, allegedly?
So allegedly. I just pray that, like I said, man, like that whatever we're fighting for is valid and worth it. I think that without a particular, because we're so diverse, unlike the president-elect says, that we don't have independent thought, that the president-elect believes that we are monolithic in thinking, except for a few notable exceptions. Where in the reality is that black people are so diverse in thinking, and our communities are so different. And I just pray that these people are for the real, because we don't have a black agenda. That's the problem. We don't know what we want as a community, and to have these organizations, is great. But it's like, okay, what are we fighting for? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we pushing for? And is this real? The quote unquote agenda that is agreed on by the Black Coalition.
Well, I'm all for black folks bearing arms. I think we all need to tool up. Yep. I think them taking making a lot of the black men felons and taking our rights to bear arms and protect ourselves. During COVID-19, I couldn't buy a pistol out here in Houston. I couldn't buy one because they was all sold. Everybody, it was like a arms race. And I feel like them white militiamen, they military minded, they trained up, and they ready to go. And they ready to protect their people, and I'm all for it. I would like to see some Christian militiamen. If it's anybody watching and you know some Christian militiamen and y'all in need of a chaplain, go ahead and holler at Rev. But, I think we moving in that space, man. Not necessarily a race war, but I think it's going to be to the point where people are not going to trust government, and people are going to be taking laws and things into their own, way, and they just going to be doing what they want to do. All right, Ken and Karen. Come on, man. I know y'all know about these guys. You know, the crazy white ladies who call the police on black folks who mind their own business and make up these stories. You got the girl in the dog park. You got just recently the a world reclaimed trombone player. He was coming out of a Soho hotel in Europe, I believe, and his son had an iPhone, and this lady lost her iPhone a day before in the Uber, and they was coming off the hotel, and she accused the young boy of stealing her phone and was trying and attacked the young boy. And the people who worked at the hotel was like defending her, like helping her. You know what I'm saying? Terrorized this boy. Everybody got an iPhone, but because he black and he got an iPhone, it's yours. What y'all think about these Ken and Karens, these white folks getting out of control out here?
I don't know too much about them as far as what you say. I do know this. I don't have an iPhone, but I do know if I'm still Team Android. I'm sorry, but I do know if you attack my child, now you better have good reason why you did it. I know that, but I'll say that to you. You probably know them in a show enough different light if that had been my child. And I know that I purchased this for them. I'm gonna just say that. Let's just say it that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I mean the entitlement. The entitlement of these people thinking that they could use their white privilege, or in the case of these women, their femininity and their whiteness, to get these most of them black men arrested. Now, we got cell phones capturing this stuff, but just imagine years and years and years, like Emmett Till.
Emmett Till, I was just going to say Emmett Till, right?
All these false, lies, and and a lot of them is mentally ill. But people believe them because they white, and for some reason, white means credible. I totally disagree with it. Anybody got anything to say about that before we move on?
Let me be controversial and say the couple in the top left corner, I believe of all the Ken and Karens mentioned, I think they were the most within their rights as far as what happened between them. So everything else on this image, I agree with 1,000%. But I think when you have these groups who are protesting and looting and destroying communities, coming through a gated community, I'm pulling out the rifle and I'm telling my wife to grab hers too. You're not coming on my property.
I agree, and then that's what these people with the guns. They pulled out they weapons because protesters was in their yard. You know, but some people say they went to extreme. If they was white protesters, they probably just would have been screaming, "Get off the grass! Get off the grass!" But they came out ready. You know. All right. So our last category, and this is the hot topics: fallen heroes, falling down, and foolery. And this is the good one. And so let's talk about fallen heroes. 2020, if you would listen, if it should have been a telltale sign of the way 2020 was going to be, it was the death of Kobe Bean Bryant. Fred, talk about it. He your favorite player. He mine.
Listen, man. Listen, I remember the day I left church. Man, we had an amazing service. Soon as I pull him, I'm talking about my phone was just I'm like, what in the world? I mean, what's going on? So I just kind of put my phone down. Then it rung. My son was like, Dad, you seen the news? Kobe died. I said, man, get off my phone, man. It's all on Facebook. I said, look, man, people be playing these games, talking about somebody dead. Get off my phone with that. So I sat down, turned the TV on, and it wasn't nothing breaking like yet. I'm flipping this. I'm like, what are you talking about? And all of a sudden, man, the lady did a little earpiece. And I was like, I'm sitting there. And when it came across, man, I sat there for a minute like, I ain't gonna lie, man. I felt like I had lost a family member, man. I was like, this is crazy. Like, I was like, Lord, I don't know if I need to repent or what. I done got this close to an individual that I went and watched him play. I'm like, I done got this close to a man that I've never shook his hand. I'm like, man, that Tuesday night I preached a message called Mamba Mentality, man.
Yep.
That was my tribute to Kobe, man. And I said he had to get it from somewhere, so I went to Garden of Gethsemane, man. That was the mind of Jesus, but that alone, man, just kind of it rocked me. I ain't gonna lie, man. It rocked me, man. It rocked me. It rocked me hard, man.
Who else got
I remember.
I cried. I'm gonna say it. Yeah, I cried.
Yeah, it touched me too, man.
I cried, man.
Too.
I remember, man. I'm with you, man. Definitely, I'm an ambassador for the Cove, and I have been, and and being that I'm from originally born and raised in Akron, Ohio, went to.
You catch it.
Yeah, I catch it heavy, Doc. I went to I went to elementary school with LeBron. Him and I are basically like a week apart in age. Grew up on the same side of town, so
Wow.
I'm supposed to be all about King James, but real recognized realer. And anyway, so I'm Team Kobe, and I was at church, and you were having a celebration for some of our ministers. And somebody was like, "You'll never believe what happened." I was like, "What? Kobe died?"
No.
Oh my God.
It was the worst, man. And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "You get the heck out of here." And I was just done. Like, I just was done. I was like, "There's no way possible that this man is gone, man." And yeah, that was definitely, man. It's still hard, man. I didn't even watch anything. I just turned off social media because I couldn't take it.
And the fact that his daughter was on the plane,
man.
Yeah,
that was deep. Calvin, Mike, y'all got anything to say about the death of Kobe?
Well, I was at church as well. I actually just got in the pulpit when when the message came across the phone. And don't y'all jump on me or nothing. I've never been a Kobe Bryant fan in my life. I've always respected his game, but just never been a fan. One reason, because he always wanted to me just to be like Michael Jordan, who happens to be not one of my greatest players either. So I'm just saying, as people say, I don't want nobody to jump on me and think I'm biased or whatnot. I always respected his game. But when I heard it, I was like Fred, it was like a brother or a uncle or cousin had died. And I think when people become famous or superstars or things of that nature, they share so much of themselves with us.
Yeah.
We bring them in our home via TV, via Facebook, or whatever it is, whatever avenue that we can bring them in. And I think when they go, because we've had them for that many years, they're part of the family. And so yeah, I definitely was devastated at that loss, just for what it did for the basketball world and just in his life in general.
You know what? Can I add this too before you jump on to our great brother? I didn't have a special message like Fred, to honor the great Kobe Bean. But I told my church, I said, listen, next Sunday I am going to preach for 81 minutes, so y'all gonna just deal with this. So
I like that, man. I like that.
You're gonna torture him for 81 minutes. People be trying to go and get some
81 minutes, man.
So listen, Black Panther died, man. Chadwick, man, I think that was one of the most saddest things too, because when the movie came out, I just saw the pride in the children's eyes, and the Wakanda forever, and it was just what that character meant, and how we broke box office records, just banding together, coming together as one and supporting this movie and his brother. I'm not a fan of Marvel getting all the money, but this guy broke a barrier. You know what I'm saying? And for him to die, I had saw there was some pictures floating online. You know what I'm saying? The Shade Room, TMZ. Maybe a year before he died, showing that he lost weight and that they saw him kind of real frail. but we thought that it was a movie he was training for. I seen 50 Cent was in the movie where he played a cancer person.
Yeah.
He dropped off. He looked deathly. He looked so
Yeah.
frail. He had lost all that weight that I thought he had some type of disease or something. So I thought that was for him. But when he died, I was like, man, 2020, the hits keep on hitting. What y'all think about? Who got something to say about Chadwick? Mike?
Yeah, that was I felt like that was sad. That probably affected me more than Kobe, just from the standpoint of his story, the whole thing that reading the tribute from Denzel and stuff like that, how that relationship blossomed and how he helped him out and stuff, and just finding out, you know, what he was going through to make them movies, man. Like that's almost like divine supernatural strength to be able to do that. So yeah, it was sad, man. It was sad. I gotta admit, I did not cry, but he made me feel something in here and in the throat, and I got it together.
Yeah, it was sad. On Chadwick, we actually share the same birthday. He's always been my celebrity twin, I guess you could say, and being a big fan of Marvel. But I think, as Pastor Mike said, he was the true definition of no excuse. Just to know what he did behind the scenes, and you know, like you said, when we looked at him, we didn't look at him to be sick. But once he died and you went back and you looked at all those pictures, you in your mind now you can see that he was sick. And just the fact that you hear the people talk about, like you said, I think Samuel Jackson, the one that discussed and talked about how he showed up in the middle of chemo treatment and still making movies. I mean, true definition of just determination, no excuse. I mean, it really gives you another outlook on life itself when you want to complain about what you got going on and how this man pushed past everything and still did what he did. So it was just awesome.
Hey, one thing, Rev, on that. One post that I saw on social media that I took to heart. Somebody posted that nobody in his circle let it out.
My God.
Yeah.
That did it for me, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was key. Nobody in the circle let it out.
Nobody in the circle let it out.
And in this news age and quick microwave news, you know, everybody won't be first. You see on Facebook, and I'm guilty of it at times. It's some type of news article, and I want to be the one to share it first to let y'all know the stimulus coming or whatever it is, you know. But people kept it to themselves. Representative John Lewis, what they say, he said good trouble.
Good trouble.
Another giant politically failed. Do anybody got anything to say about him?
I want to say this. First of all, if we just rebuke the Ray J spirit when it comes to news and to other kinds of social media endeavors. Number one, we're going to let patience have her perfect work, as the Bible says. Yeah. But with Representative John Lewis, I definitely think it's definitely the signal, man, of just the time, the era, and how things have passed. I mean, you know, it's unfortunate that, you know, Elijah Cummings passed away this year. All these great Black men and these great leaders, particularly with John Lewis and what he did with the civil rights movement. It really just hits hard because it's like, okay, who do we have? Like, you know, who is the torch passed to? That's what I really look at. And that's what I feel. Even thinking about just, you know, where the government is and state of politics, it's just, you know, it just really says, man, we have big shoes to fill. And, you know, unfortunately, people are trying to walk shoeless these days. It feels like.
Wow.
Yeah, I work with Congressman Lewis' niece.
Say what, Calvin?
I work with his niece.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so she got a chance to see him up close then. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah, man, it was just even in his last days doing the funeral arrangements and the tribute that they did to him, and they were just talking about how everything was just like they treated them like they was royalty, like how they just laid it out for him. It was just an awesome experience that the things they gave and the stuff they talk about. But I work in his hometown of Troy, Alabama.
Yeah. Yeah, another notable death, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, one of the few women on the Supreme Court. Trump did fill her seat with another woman, but some say that she is somebody that ain't. He thought she was gonna be somebody that was gonna be on his side, but she turned out to be a lot more independent than most thought. Let me get into this topic right here. So let me say it like this. All right. I know it's not ministerial ethics wise. It's not good for other ministers to criticize or talk about or judge other people of the cloth publicly in certain ways. However, so what I want to do is I just want to phrase it like this. Out of these four, who's had in 2020, who's had the worst public relations nightmare? So was it Jamal or J-Paul, like they say? Was it Angel Pastor Paula White, John Gray, or Carl Lentz? Go ahead. Mike, you critical of certain types of preachers, so I'm gonna let you go first.
Hey, first off,
hard on us, bro.
I thought that was Robert Kelly at the top. And I'm like,
Robert Kelly.
But I'm gonna tell you, like, nothing sticks to Jamal. He the Teflon Don. Nothing sticks to him because he do dirt. And the next Sunday he preached. I'll never forget when he preached.
I'm the man. I'm still the man. I'm telling you, bro.
Teflon. I don't think Paula White matters, especially with the. Yeah, I don't think she matters as much. But I don't know. Like I think in the Black community, because of how we view ministers and leaders and preachers and stuff, I think Brother Gray, I think he's the one that shines the most as in having the worst public relations this year. Because I mean, I have too much to say about him, so I'm gonna just stop there. I would say he's probably had the worst public relations nightmare.
I mean, Carl Lentz got fired though.
He's the only one that got fired. He's the only one that got fired.
He got fired. He got fired, but he gonna go away somewhere and he gonna come back and he gonna be embraced.
Okay.
That's my opinion because I think it happens with them so often. I think John Gray gonna stay in the news. I think he's gonna go get quiet for a while. I think he's gonna stay in the news.
Yeah, Johnny ain't got that Teflon. He ain't got that Teflon.
Oh boy.
Who else got something? Who had the worst public relations nightmare?
I'm gonna say Brother Lentz. Okay. I think coming from
New York though.
I'm a New Yorker, right? And so on one hand, it's so hard to see, the standard bearer for what, church and good church is, or modern church. It sucks to see him go down because, the competitor in me is like, I want to dethrone you at the top of your game, first of all, number one. And that's just in pure, of course, righteous ethics. I know it's not a competition, but y'all get my heart. Right. I don't want to come up because you down, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, Hillsongers are welcome at Next Level Church. I do want to make that very clear.
They so doctrinally flawed though. So I don't even consider him. They so doctrinally flawed from the foundation.
You think so? They're just undercover.
Oh my
Brian
God!
He's the only one. Here's the thing. I don't think we can say that because of all the foolishness that's happened. He's the only one that's actually got sat down. So from a doctrinal perspective, I'm like, they have a standard.
I'm talking about church. I'm talking about biblical Christian doctrine. They are so flawed from the foundation of their doctrine. He don't even know. He ain't even on my radar except he was on the news.
Yeah,
I feel you. The only way I know
Okay.
is because he ran with Justin Bieber, and
He
then
ran with everybody.
yeah, that's the only reason why I know who he is. But he was at John Gray's installation, and
Didn't feel an ounce of spirit. He was just sitting there like this the whole time.
I was like, he high. When I saw him at John Gray installation, I said, he high. He on dope. I seen it, right? I seen it. I have a social abuse counseling certificate. So I know what dope
You
fiends
know what
look
he said?
like. All right. Calvin, what you got? Who had the worst thing?
I don't know. I would probably agree to say maybe John Gray as well. That's what I would say. Reason I say, I mean, I guess I agree with them as far as all their reasons. But also I look at as far as what either Pastor Michael said, we're so harsh in the Black community when it comes to preachers and doing things that I guess you could say I'm not gonna say in the sense of a couple of times, because they say the first time is a mistake, second time is a choice, or so on and so on. But we're so judgmental in the Black community when it comes to preachers that I would say John Gray. That's what I would say. It would be one of them, but I'll go with John over Jamal.
Man, Fred.
Since we talking strictly PR, man, flipping it. If I'm a personal relations guy, and I had to flip the story for this individual, I work for this individual, strictly work. I'm saying Paula White.
Why?
Couple things. The Black community put her there.
My God.
All right, that's number one. Number two, when you look at it from that perspective, man, you cannot rebuild the brand with her now, because now she almost untouchable. Now let's go churchy. The Bible says a man's gift will make room for him. All right, here's the problem. Nobody wants to deal with a gifted rebel though, because you mess up everything else in the room. That's why T.D. Jakes ain't reached out. None of these other people have reached out. So when we talk about, when I'm thinking personal relations, how can I get you back to your platform? Great guy Osteen in his back pocket. He'll be back.
Yeah.
That's his Teflon mat. That's his Teflon mat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's his mat to slide everything off of.
Yeah.
Paula White, on the other hand, you're standing in a pulpit that a Black man built.
Come on now.
And Black people put you there. And you turn around and you call on celestial beings to help you with your own motives. You got a lady doing push-ups in the front. One guy walking back and forth with some type of scroll or something. I don't know what he reading, the Constitution. I don't know what was going on.
Constitution.
I don't know what he was doing back there, man. So if I had to work for this individual and flip it, she got to, because here's the thing. Secondly, Black Christians are the biggest spenders in America. Hence Tyler Perry went after them. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Your book sales finna go down.
Yeah.
Everything that she touches now that was driven by the Black community, the hands have been pulled back. A Black person can flip the TV right now, her face come across, and it's just as fast as something else. So if I had to flip it, she killed her 2021.
But she still got her base though, her congregation.
She got the base, man. But again, that's not enough to give you what you was bringing.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, Rare Kelly, in the saying the congregation, because you got to understand, if you sat in there through it, the only people that's really had a problem with it, the one that wasn't there. If you sat there through it, they was okay with it. They was okay with everything that she stood for at that moment,
and you may as well say you promoted it because you stayed, and you can't say you didn't like it because even afterwards you're still there. So I agree the platform is still there. I agree with Pastor Fred on the sense of saying they build her up, but a lot of them are, and I'll just say it in the sense of what we say all the time. They will go harder against John Gray than her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The black community will. I'm just saying the black community.
Here's the
they
thing
will
with me with John Gray.
him up harder than they will her.
John Gray is one of the few black males
that can cross over.
So even if the black community pulled the embrace back, he still got 52,000 sitting in them seats that's ready to laugh at his jokes and ready to buy his books.
And he's still on pay. He's still on. He's still doing Bible study.
You see what I'm saying? He's still going. So
he's still on.
He may feel the rebuttal from the black community, like, man, again, come on, brother, like, hey. But as long as he can slide back to Texas, TBN got him, bro.
Can I say this? Y'all gonna be mad at me. Usually I was facing like, oh, he's like this Negro. Oh, that was hilarious, bro. So it's ironic how the one who we're saying is the worst is the one who got in trouble for praying. Where all three of these other guys have issues with their body parts and keeping their discipline. I just think that's ironic and it's hilarious to me. That's all I want to say on that.
Look,
I just think it's funny. Not to say that you don't deserve it, but I'm just saying.
Look, let's talk. Let's talk, man.
Okay, let's go then. Okay.
When has adultery and fornication really set a pastor out of the light?
Well, his predecessor, Jamal Bryant's predecessor. He went from watch this to watch this to wait on.
But one could say that because there was allegations of same-sex.
Which kind of fornication?
Let's talk heterosexual.
You didn't say which kind.
Let's talk heterosexual then.
Yeah.
Let's talk heterosexual.
Okay.
Right. And look, the way we going, if Eddie Long wouldn't have got sick, he would have rebounded because the government, like you said, they're pushing an agenda to embrace, and they're trying to make it so common that it's kind of like, oh man, that ain't gonna affect me, whatever. You know what I mean? He preach a good word, I'm cool.
Man, I didn't even put that on the topic. I've seen so many bishops with their husbands and so much stuff going on. It's crazy.
Jamal does so much for the community that they will accept his shortcoming as long as he don't stop being a voice for the community. They look right over it. As long as Carson Wentz keep his song rolling a little bit, hey man, let's pray for him. I'm just saying.
It's a fact. It's a sad
because
fact.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not co-signing because I grew up Pentecostal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I do believe that should be a standard for that platform. Regardless if I'm wrong, I still preach a right standard. And if I get to the point where, hey, I'm going totally against one preacher, I'm finna sit my behind down somewhere. So I do believe a standard for the platform, but the world has become so sensual that we'll laugh and joke at their mistakes and put them right back in the light.
But do white people do that, or is that just black people? Because again, Carl Wentz is gone.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Now we talking.
Question for you. Let me ask y'all a question. Why y'all on that subject?
We hijacking your show.
You said sit down, put them down, sit them down. Is it okay as long as they don't see it?
And the reason I'm saying is we want to sit them down after you see what they've done, but you already know they're already doing it. So what is the significance or what is the power in now that I see what I already knew you were doing, I'm going to set you down?
Public opinion.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, yeah, you can set Jamal down, or if Jamal come in and set himself down as he did, or if John Gray says I'm not gonna preach, or as some of the other ones come, but would you have sat down if no one caught you? You see what I'm saying? So you can accept it. I guess what I'm saying is we as a and I'm just saying, as we said, a black generation, we, as long as we don't see it, we're okay with it. Once I see it, I got a problem with it. You ain't a preacher. You ain't this, or you ain't that, or you need to sit down. Well, what says I would have genuinely sat down if you never caught me?
I think that speaks to the integrity of a person. I think that furthermore shows why these people, again, and I'm not saying, like Jesus said, he who is without sin, let him throw the first stone. So in no way, shape, or form, am I trying to, come off like, oh, I'm just holier than thou. I'm not doing that. But I think when you have continued infractions and when you have integrity, that's the point of covering. I feel like it's immodest, it's immoral, it's hypocritical for us to ask and require people to do things, to be a part of our ministry and to worship and to help ministry go forward that we ourselves won't do, that we ourselves are forbidden to do. And so if we're having a standard to sing on a praise and worship team, if we're having a standard to be a deacon or elder, then as the leader, we ought to live and abide by the same thing. And so I tell people in our church all the time, I said, I can walk with you. I can cover you if I know it. If you don't tell it to me, if you don't let me walk with you through it, there's no way I can't cover you. I can't help you. I can't be that defense. The Bible says love covers a multitude of sins. So it has to be exposed. It has to be known. It has to be like, listen, this is the thing. But when you see guys and men and women who don't have the integrity to submit themselves to that process, that to your point, Pastor Calvin, it should disqualify them in the first place from being even having the character to represent what we represent in the kingdom of God. Not to say that you should be perfect, but to say, okay, get help, put yourself, submit. Like you got Bishop Neil Ellis. That makes me think about, okay, what's up with Bishop Ellis? If you cool with this your man.
I think he honors Ellis for his contribution, but I don't think he's still up under his daddy. That's who he up under. He ain't up under Bishop Ellis. Like he'll give him his, but he's not up under that fellowship. You know what I'm saying? And that's the issue. I think it's a lack of accountability. But if I would think John Gray had the worst PR relations nightmare only because he drug his family into it. My God, phones, playing on them phones. My God, you sitting up here, you on staff at the biggest church in America. Everybody know who you is. You on Oprah. And you think these and like my man Chris Brown, the Apostle Chris Brown, these hoes ain't loyal.
Well,
you think that they ain't gonna screen share you? They ain't gonna record your phone call and all of his stuff from when Larry Reed and all them other people was promoting on him. It's that phone, leaving voicemails. I mean, and then he set himself up saying that I was a virgin until this and that, and he put all that stuff out there.
8-year-old John, that BS.
Come on now, right?
I'm sorry, y'all.
And then he embarrassed his wife because he was talking disparagingly to another woman about his wife. Oh, she don't
every night.
Journals. And then the little boy is in the background, and he asking the little boy, "Your mama don't cook, do she?" To me, PR nightmare. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, that cold, man.
Hey, but you know the
factor though, because go ahead. Who was that?
I was gonna say that the whole danger is what's that?
No, he asked who it was. I was saying it was you.
The danger, the fact that he did that in front of his son, right? That speaks to a whole nother level of something going on with him that ain't transitioned out in a month of him sitting down. That ain't fixed.
No,
that's not fixed.
This is what I think too, Pastor Mike. I think it's something so deep rooted, and this is why I pray for him, because all that's at his exposure, it's almost like he blinks out and don't think about none of it. That's how I know, like with me, you know what I mean? I got a wife, 3 kids, little job, planning the church. And I think about that with all the stuff I got going on. Like, for him to like take a gamble with all that God has put in his possession, that lets me know it's something deeper, man. It's something way deeper, man. He really needs our prayers though, for real.
And he sat out for a month, and its first Sunday back, he was criticizing Paula White. Like, that's something that don't read right. Like, where's
that ain't
repentance and humility? That don't read right.
Yeah.
I gotta say this too. I know you're trying to move on to entanglements, but here's the thing. Is that
absolutely
is that John Gray, and again I'm for every pastor. I'm for pastors. I just want to say that I'm no way, shoot or wounded. That's not my vibe or whatever. So I'm not even trying to say that. But I just think this whole 8-year-old, 12-year-old John excuse is the most ridiculous and the most unaccountable thing I ever heard in my life. And I just lowered, not that I don't respect him, but it just made me like lose value for what you say when you blame your decisions as a 40-plus-year-old man on being a child. Now I know we have our thoughts, but you're a grown man with 8-year-old kids. Blaming yourself for the decisions you make on 8-year-old John, like I'm supposed to like you're like, oh, okay, that's so true. You're right. 8-year-old you versus 45-year-old you. Like, who's preaching to me right now? Is this 8-year-old John?
Yeah.
Which one is which John am I getting today?
I don't know, man. I'm
be you wild, man. You wild.
Every time I listen to him preach from here on out, I'm gonna be trying to see if he
real, man.
You know what I mean?
Man. Be wild, man.
We just got a few more topics and then we done, man. I'm gonna let you brothers go, man. I appreciate you guys for staying so long and contributing, man. It means a lot to me. But 2020, the entanglement. I don't know if you heard about this, but it's been rumored that Will and Jada have an open relationship where they are okay with each other having extramarital affairs as long as they both know about it and consent. The singer, August Alsina, is saying that he was in a relationship with Jada and Will gave him the blessing. You know what I'm saying? Now, this has been talked for years and years and years about them. So to me, it sounds right. And we seen them out publicly on red carpets and stuff. And she said that she was helping him out. Like, he came to her wounded. He had some mental health issues, and she was being like a mentor to him. Now, if this was reversed, and she was a man and he was a girl, and she came to him wounded, and he was supposed to be helping her, and they started messing around, I think that man would get towed down. He'd get R. Kelly. They would R. Kelly the mess out of him. They would cancel him. They would wipe him out. But because it was a female and she used her power and her authority, and he a grown man now, don't get me wrong, but I believe he looked at her as somebody he looked up to at first, and then it went into whatever. I believe she abused her authority, and I believe that the only reason why Will Smith came out was because the PR was getting too bad, and he said, "Well, I was against it." What y'all think about this mess? And would you let your
I'm first say this, and I've always said this: the Smiths are some weird people. I'm just gonna tell you that. I love him dearly. I love Will, great actor. Loves movies. Just great for what he's done over the years, TV shows. I love Jada, great. But they weird. Even now, not just the relationship, but even down to the raising of their kids, they're just weird. When it comes to the entanglement thing, and you said the abuse of Jada's power, I disagree, because if you put any one of us at that age in that position, Jada wouldn't have to abuse too much. All she would have to do is say a couple words, and hey, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just that. I mean, when you look at it, especially his age, and then for the woman she is, no doubt in my mind, I'm gonna even go with the further say, and I know how I was. He probably had that in mind altogether. Probably played a little bit of his emotional side to kind of pull her in. No doubt in my mind, he's been friends with the family. He got some insights that we don't really got insights on. So he knows some things that we really don't know. I don't think she abused power. I really think happened what I'm gonna go as far to say what both of them wanted to happen, but I'm gonna say what I believe he set out to do in the first place, just so he could say I was in a relationship with Jada. That's just me.
Now, let me just add this. You're right. He was a friend of the family. He was friends to her son. She met him through him coming over to be friend to hang out with her son. So that was the entryway to their relationship. My son brought you over as his friend, and then I start sleeping with you. Bryson, what you got to say?
Well, I guarantee this, that there are certain songs that Will Smith will no longer have in his catalog that he refused to play. One of those being "Summer, Summer, Summertime,"
Right.
in reference to August Alsina. Also, "Switch," and the Wild Wild West. But here's the deal, though. I will say this: that there's so much here that is. I feel bad for Will Smith. I think he probably had the worst PR.
Yeah, he rough.
Because the faces the man was making, the tears, the pain, the angst that he had on his face when he was sharing with his wife what was going on. I haven't seen that level of emotion since 1996 when he asked the question to Uncle Phil, "How come you don't want me, man?" And that's what I felt was going on with Will Smith, and I felt so bad for him and his family because, and I'm serious, I'm joking, but I'm serious because these people are Hollywood, and it's like, when you don't have, without righteousness, everything is so unstable. But it's hard to do marriage. It's hard enough already as it is, and then when you throw these added characters, it's just not enough months in the year to love somebody the right way.
My God.
Just to let you know, Reverend Kelly,
to love somebody the right way.
You got that, Mike?
Reverend Kelly, I'm just let you know, 18-year-old me would have loved to have been friends with her son as well.
Right. Can I come over?
I think all our bites probably would have been part of that.
I'm just gonna keep it real with you. I would have loved to have been. They a little weird, but I would have loved to have been friends with them as well.
All right, let's move to the next topic. We got two more after this, and then we gone. Lil Wayne sold his masters, man, for $100 million, and not just his masters, but the whole Young Money catalog. All the early Drake, all the early Nicki Minaj, all the Tiger, everything. And they say that all of Drake's music, all the way up to I think the last album was on Young Money. So he sold all of that for $100 million. Is he the world's dumbest criminal or not? Because they say he about to go to jail for a few years. What y'all think?
No way I would have did that.
Why is he going to jail though?
Another pistol case. They found a pistol on him a year ago, and then he took the picture with Trump, and then that caused them to start looking into him, and bam.
Gotcha. Okay. I thought it was because of the master stamp.
I guess you could say that. I mean, I wouldn't have sold him, but maybe to the fact that if he got rid of them, not I guess you could say not knowing if they was gonna continue to be on the label with the label, and maybe if I ain't gonna make no money off of them, then hey, I get rid of them. I'm not sure. I wouldn't have done it. I'm not saying I'd have did it, but I guess it goes back to let you know that everything has a price and anything can be bought, and some folk will sell their soul for the right amount of money.
I think with him looking at time, somebody gave him some bad advice.
Facts.
Somebody gave him some bad advice.
I mean, he mortgaged his whole. I mean, he got all these kids, Regine, all of these kids, and they could have been eating off of this in perpetuity. And he got all these lawsuits, and $100 million, he blow through it. The way he's spending, they spending Maybachs and they leasing these cars. He got somebody, a lawyer who helped him negotiate the deal, suing him for $20 million. So that's 20 out of that 80. And they say he was already strapped for cash. That was the reason why he was going against Birdman, because they owed him an advance on the Carter 5 album. And so what happened was he negotiated that. They gave him, I heard, $20 million, and then they gave him his masters. And then what he do for $100 million, he go and sell the masters. So now they can license out all the music. They got all the Drake stuff. Yeah, people ain't buying physical copies and stuff, but the streams is crazy. I wouldn't have never sold it, not for $100 million. You know, because if he blow through that, his family broke. Now maybe he need $100 million because Master P getting ready to buy Reebok, and they told him you come up with $100 million to help to get in to this $2 billion Reebok deal. Now if it's a play like that, okay, let's do it. But just to have some money, I think it was crazy. Who got something to say about this?
So I'm gonna say this. I look at it like this perspective. One, I don't think it was dumb. I think it depends, like you mentioned, the game that he's playing, and I think what the dumber thing would be to definitely sell Drake for Reebok. But what'd you say?
You think to sell Drake for Reebok?
Oh my God, Reebok is. I mean, make sure you could do like Kanye did. You don't need to buy Reebok to make money from shoes, but that's a whole nother thing. But I think I would almost say I'd rather get my money up front than having to wait to be spent out each year. Now the question is, how much were they making in royalties, and how much would he have been able to get, and two, how long would he have the royalties for Drake? Because I'm sure with their deal, it's not something that he would have in perpetuity. So to take that money versus holding on to it, I don't think it's bad. I just think it's okay. I'll take $100 million a day than have $3 million a year for the rest of my life.
I feel you. Yeah, for those of you Christians out there that play that number, you taking the cash out or you taking the?
Give me the cash out.
Okay. Next topic. Meg Thee Stallion and this guy Tory Lanez. They say he shot this girl. Now, when they showed the picture, it looked like she had like a little cut up under her Achilles heel. It didn't look like a bullet went through her foot and came out. And he came out with an album basically saying everything, his side of the story. He put it in the album. She went on Facebook Live, Instagram Live, and told all this stuff. And so now all their business out here. I didn't even know they was dating. I don't really care for her music. My wife, they kind of understand the music more than me. But I think she's not a good rapper. But this happened. What y'all think about this? Did you hear about this? What you think about this?
Yeah, I think it was crazy. I don't know. She's kind of out there as far as, like my wife can't stand the way she talk. She can't stand the way she talk. I think it's kind of crazy, the whole situation. I don't know if it was more or less for attention or to do. The biggest thing was out at that time was what's my girl Offset and
Cardi.
Oh, Cardi B.
Cardi B. And so I don't know if they needed something to kind of garner some attention or get some things as far as what the media was kind of doing. It definitely drew some attention. I'm like Rev Killer. I don't really care for her music as much. I don't really understand a lot of the rap that they do today. I really don't get it. I just don't. Most rap today is just a couple words and then they get a little hook and there it is. That's just it. So I just think it's more or less for attention, not to negate the fact that she got shot. or they were having problems. But I think more or less blowed up for the attention side of it.
Pastor Calvin, you used to be in the studio. You used to rap.
No, I didn't. I've never rapped. I ain't gonna do too much singing. Better do all that, leave all that stuff alone there. I do my best singing at home. My wife seemed to think I sing better when we on a full stomach for some reason. Because when we was eating, she told me don't sing till after I get through eating. So I guess I sound better after we had got full. I don't know. I don't know. You know.
Wow. I don't know. Funny. That's funny. Anybody else got anything to say about this topic? Okay, we'll move it on then. All right. All right. Last but not least, man. The fight of the year. My God. Comeback. I've been here for years.
Boy.
You know what I'm saying? The Mike Tyson and Roy Jones fight. Did y'all see it? I saw it. Did y'all see it?
I was watching the UFC that night.
Okay, see, I'm an avid UFC watcher as well, and but I went over my good friend's house and watched it, and it was more of a concert than anything. You know what I'm saying? They was smoking blunts and they was blowing big and rapping.
Snoop.
Yeah. So I mean, it's exhibition fights the new wave, because we see even Floyd about to come back and fight the white boy who knocked out Nate Robinson. What y'all think?
No, he's gonna fight his brother.
And his brother.
Floyd
I
gonna
think
fight
get your
his
money.
brother.
I think get your money.
Brother?
Yeah, he's
Logan
fighting
Paul.
the brother.
Oh, okay.
Not Jake. Yeah. I say get your money, man. I think first of all, that photograph, it looks like if 2020 was a person. That's kind of what I feel like. First of all, that's what I feel like going to sleep tonight. Like, golly, are we done yet? I'm glad this is over. I'm glad this is over. But yeah, I think it's dope. I think it's a beautiful way for people to control and get, again, direct to consumer. And I think that the economization of opportunity is what we're seeing. I think Snoop said he was going to kind of get into his own fight league and stuff like that. And I just think it's great for the hustlers, for the economics, for the entrepreneurs, and ways for these people to, particularly athletes who may have, been past the prime and can't participate in the big money events. They can still find ways to make things happen. And I mean, when you can go direct to consumer and just take out the middleman, it's always a win. And I think this is really great. I mean, you even see that with it's unrelated, but with Ice Cube's Big Three. It's not, glamorous, and they're not $1 million paydays, but it's still fun. It's good to see. And you create your own economy. So I'm for that 1,000%.
I love it. I've always been a fan of Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. So just to see them two actually box each other, even in their prime, clearly can see the age has taken a toll on them at this point. But I like it from this standpoint, as in the sense of knowing the things that, everybody was down in Mike Tyson and kind of, I told people for years, I think he got heavyweight so young that he didn't know how to deal with the fame of what it brought with it. And he balanced some stuff, and he even talked about it. So just to see him fight his mind and get out of himself and get himself back to a place where he even want to get in the ring, I just like that fact all by itself, just a positive in that for what it done for him. And if that's his therapy, if that's his way of coping, if that's his psychiatrist that he used to keep him to a place where he able to function mentally and to do what he need to do, then I'm good for it. Let him fight as long as he can.
And then the physical transformation, how he changed his body, that was awesome. Fred, what you got to say? Anything to say about this fight?
Man, I think the funniest thing was the post interview, man.
You don't do draws either, Fred?
We're cracking up, man.
And they both got the consolation prize. They both got trophies. I mean, everybody won. It was crazy. But Tyson walked. They say Roy walked away with about 3 M's. And you know what? I'd rather see the name fighters. Like I don't want to see none of these new guys. I don't know their history, but that next fight that they trying to put together, that Mike
Tyson.
Yeah, I'm all. See, I think Holyfield gonna kill him, but
yeah.
And if it's yeah, what you say? What?
I don't know.
Have you
Yeah,
said?
And the reason I said that, I guess the reason I said it is because I don't think Holyfield is training as Mike has been trained. I think it's just the fact that, hey, I just think he's saying, hey, the people need to see this fight, and I'm just gonna get in the ring. I'm not saying he's not gonna train, but even you look at Roy Jones. Roy Jones went to the place that Mike was, even though they both was bad. Roy Jones looked like he needed about another year to get prepared for this fight. And I really don't think Holyfield is at that place mentally as Tyson is preparing himself. Tyson is preparing like he's actually going into a regular 12 round let's fight battle. So we'll see.
I'm gonna say this to that. I think Holyfield is in far better shape than both of them. One, I think that so as far as physically speaking, he's gonna have less rust on him. He's gonna be more closer to his prime, although he's still far from it, than I think either of these guys were. And I think because of that, he was already a better boxer than Mike Tyson as far as the purity of it and the actual sport of it. I don't think he's going to be caught off guard. I think, and he's bigger than Roy Jones. He's going to hit harder than Roy Jones. I mean, it's going to be different. I will say this too, that Holyfield was supposed to be in his first one. Y'all probably know this, but maybe the viewers don't. Holyfield was supposed to be in his first one, but his team wasn't with it. But when they saw the payday, he caught him up as soon as after the fight, like, look, put me on. Like, what we got to do to make this happen, man? Holyfield want that money. He don't want $1. He's just trying to get that check, man.
He want a little money.
I mean, shoot, man. He got a 100-room mansion and Rick Ross bought it for $5 million.
Yeah, it's hard times out here, man.
I mean, come on now. I mean, shoot, he got to get that money. But listen, that was basically the last topic of 2020. I'm gonna go ahead and end it right here, but I just want to give everybody an opportunity to share something about, if you got like the most memorable thing that happened in 2020, or if you want to share what you got going on in 2021 or anything. I just want to give everybody some final thoughts. Let's start at the bottom. Let's go with Bryson, Mike, Calvin, then Fred.
Absolutely. Well, per my history, I started at the bottom. Now I'm definitely still here. So, but man, I just want to thank you, man. Thank you so much, Reverend O.L. Kelly, for definitely making this opportunity and including me. It's an honor. Number one. Number two, I think one of the most profound things that happened to me this year, I think, was probably the event that I think originally brought us all together, which was back in the Resurrection season, the 7 last sayings that we did with Andre. So I think that was profound for me, and I think expanding. And I think it's been a really big year for that, just moving and getting outside of comfort zones and whatnot, and just moving with the times. And so, God's been blessing our church here in New York City. Next Level Church, inextlevel.org is the website. But we just got a new building, a beautiful place, in a very prime location. God has blessed us, and we're just really trying to max that out and just keep moving forward and strategic strategic development of our church. And I'm just looking for more. That's what I feel like this 2021 is, just more. And that's kind of like my theme and my banner for the year. So that's what I'm looking at.
Right.
So I'm gonna echo some of what Pastor B said.
Gotta run get a charge, guys. Hold on one sec. Go ahead. I can hear you though.
It definitely was a blessing to connect with you guys, and then to connect again tonight to do this. This was good. I want to say probably one of the biggest things that happened for me this year, and I'm about to get churchy for a minute, is the recognition that in Christendom, in our church circle, people don't have a Psalms 119 and a 2 Timothy 3:16 view of the Word of God. In the church circles, pastors, preachers, the Word of God is not elevated. It's not esteemed the way it should be. And that was eye-opening for me this year, just based in terms of some of the things I saw, from the political issues to the social unrest, all this. People's feelings and opinions matter more than how we're supposed to respond based on what the word says. So that was something that was big for me, disappointing for me this year. And, so I'm going into next year with a commitment, and whether it reaches the masses or not, with the ministry page, to just push out the word in every way I can, from some of the books I got, from me teaching, whatever the case is. Like, I want to elevate the word of God. So that's my focus for next year. Everything is secondary to that. I'm going to do whatever I can as a man of God to elevate the word.
Amen. Amen. Calvin.
I guess my most memorable moments of 2020 is first thing I remember, COVID first came in. I ended up spending about 3 months at home, away from my job, because I would fall into the people who have pre-existing condition. I have chronic asthma, so my doctor took me off when we was peaking at kind of high levels, just because he was trying to make sure. So just 3 months of rest. My wife happened to be off, so 3 months of just family. But in them 3 months, some things started to happen, and lost some kind of connection with my older son. And so another memorable thing is having a reconnection with him. That 2020 did not go out without us being able to reconcile, or being able to get back to a place where at least I understand him and he understands me, as far as where we was coming from, or what I was trying to do as a dad, and trying to get to a place to allow him to live his own life in the perspective of it may not be something that I consider something I choose, but it's his life to live. Also, in the midst of COVID, of this year having our 3rd pastoral anniversary, which we label everything as the quarantine one. 3 years of being in the ministry there at Clio, and they gave us a 3rd pastoral anniversary, and it was the best one yet. The best one yet, that the church just showed love. I mean, it was just awesome. We were speechless, me and my wife. We still talk about it. And also just the things that coming up for the next year, as Pastor Michael said, Pastor Price, is trying to push God in every aspect that I can push God. I agree with Pastor Mike. I've seen so many things in this year cause us to lose focus, cause our attention to waver on things. I've seen us and tear down our platforms that God gave us to build Jesus, and we start pushing politics, and we start pushing different stuff. And so I just want to push God at all costs. The platform that he gave me, the mouthpiece that he has allowed me to be, I just want to push him. And and anything else comes second to that. And so with that being said, also some new things, as a few of you know, Pastor Thomas, Dr. Thomas, Pastor Kelly, Pastor Bryson, if you haven't, and Pastor Mike, got some new things that's coming out for his merchandise on next year that kind of shares my personal testimony. A lot of time when I'm preaching, my wife, church secretary, a few others, they write down things that I say as I preach, and when I am done, they will regurgitate it back to me and let me know that, hey, this could be a shirt. This is something you said this. And so God said some stuff to me in the form of I worship and I preach. And our worship comes from the simple fact that God created us to worship. That's what he made us to do. And my calling is preaching.
And so I just want to allow the world to kind of connect into my personal experience with our preach and our worship. So we've got merchandise that's coming, whether you want masks, that we live in a world now where we're full of masks, that we have to wear masks. So whether you maskless or you don't, we got them. My wife's sweater here with our worship, where you get the sweater. It has the I worship, has an I, the letter I, with worship going down the middle of it. And it even has it on the sleeve written down that you can get. We have different designs. There's another design where our worship goes across and there's a little swoop up on it. But I just want the people to be able to connect with us in a worship manner. All of you all can say that in 2020, if it wasn't for your worship, if it wasn't for your worship, if it wasn't for God meeting you in that intimate place with Him, you wouldn't be on this live, you wouldn't be on this broadcast, you wouldn't be here. And so all of us can personally connect with my worship. And so it gives you something that's symbolic to say, for people to look and say, how you made it? I worship. This is who I am. I worship God. I get in that intimate place with God. And I preach, all of ministers, preachers. And I'll just let y'all know, because y'all on here, I ain't shared it with a lot of people. But I had my cousin who draws designs. He made, there's actually 3 of these. That's 3 different designs of these that we have. But I'm just not looking at it says I preach. Dr. Fred, my friend, he's a teacher, and I'm looking at I teach. I'm looking at musician for I play. I'm looking at like my wife, them who sing, I sing. Just whatever it is, I just want to fix it to where it fit whatever you do, for you to represent yourself in the body of Christ and let people know who you are. So listen, y'all hit us up. There's a website. You can hit me directly. I partner with Girl Bosses. They have the license to create all this and make all this. They're great. There's a family. They're great at what they do. So just know that when you get something, when you order something, you're gonna get something that not only you would put on, but you're gonna get something that they would put on as well, because she wouldn't send it out if it wasn't something that she would wear her own.
I definitely
y'all just connect with them. Y'all go ahead.
Yeah, not to cut you off, but definitely just make sure you give me that website, and I'm gonna post it, and I'm gonna make sure I share it in the comments and stuff, and let people know where to get your t-shirts. Like I said, I want a 2X of the black and gold. So give me that information so I can get it. Pastor Fred, I know you're tired, man. You at the church. I want to get you home. I want to get you home, brother. I see it all over your face, my God. Sorry,
I see it too.
I'm enjoying these guys, man.
My bad, Bishop. Go ahead, brother. I'm gonna get you to your beautiful wife, man.
Listen, man. First of all, I'm thankful to be amongst brethren, man. I consider you guys brothers. I know we don't talk every day. Me and Calvin probably talk the most because we, so in close proximity. But I think 2020 for me was a year that God took potential and shifted it to reality. I'm not a preacher, teacher, but I am a visionary. And He took the potential and shifted it to reality. So in January 21st, 2020, we launched Church of Purpose here in Dothan, Alabama. And a couple of months in, here comes the pandemic. COVID hits hard. They started shutting stuff down, and my wife was like, why would God allow us to plant a church and then it shut down? And the Lord spoke to her, because we were built for such a time as this.
My God.
So the greatest aspect of what God allowed us to do is we started doing drive-up service, drive-in, however you want to call it. And we literally outgrew the building. The building couldn't contain what God sent in the midst of the pandemic. The last service we had before they closed the doors, the building was packed out. The building we didn't have no room. It was so many people in here. We had the air on 60 and it was still hot because we had no room. We started doing the drive-up service, and the next thing you know, we couldn't come back in here if we wanted to, because we don't have space. So now we're at a dilemma where, Lord, you're gonna have to do. You got to give us a bigger bill. Gonna do. And with that being said, I think Pastor Calvin said the word focus. Going into 2021, I'm like Pastor Mike and everybody else on this line. I want to push the word of God in the authentic manner He asked me to do it. But I'm also asking God for a greater focus, because we're finna launch a second location about 45-50 minutes east of us in a little town called Blakely. I prayed about it. It was two other little towns in Georgia. There's not a ministry like fashion like ours. You got, the Hoopers and things of that nature. You got a couple of them over in Blakely, but there's not a ministry fashion like ours. And the Lord gave me the green light. I went over, looked at the land, found the building, waiting on a prospect on another one to let me know the price of it.
Mm-hmm.
And God is working it, man. So y'all just keep me in prayer. I never wanted guys doing what I did, applying at Baptist churches, man, and getting right to the door. And they said, "Nah, you're not the one." Because the deacons were scared I was going to turn the church upside down and pull them away from tradition. And I said, you know what? I prayed. And last November, he gave me the green light to launch COP. I launched it in January. Went back on a fast this year, the same time I usually kind of do preparing, gearing up, trying to hear God for the next year. And that's when he dropped in my spirit. It's time to do the second location. And I'm asking God to send me people, send me ministers, have a call that we can groom and place them, and let's go. So as soon as we get Blakely up, I'm quite sure 2022, I'm gonna be putting another flyer up. Hey, we starting COP such and such. I don't know, but we're gonna create avenues and environments, man, for people to find their purpose. That's my thing, man.
Amen. Well, listen, man, that wraps it up for 2021. I appreciate you guys for coming out, man. Pastor Daphne had to go. It's late. We've been on here almost 3 hours, so you guys must love me to sit and talk for 3 hours. So that's how I'm looking at it, man. I really, really do appreciate it. For 2021, my wife and I, we are launching Hope Houston, the H2O, Hope Houston Outreach. We've already started the outreach wing. This month, we blessed an orphanage, a women's shelter, and a men's shelter. The support was astronomical. And then also, I'm releasing an online academy. And that'll be that's finished up as we speak right now. And Fred, I got to get you some information because I want you to look over some stuff for me. But that is going to be launched immediately. Maybe by Friday. Maybe by February 1st, January 1st, or whatever, just based off of how we're gonna market it and stuff. But that's what we're going. That's what we're doing for 2021. I believe in my spirit that 2021 is the year of new beginnings. You know what I'm saying? New locations, new births, new loves. You know what I'm saying? New growth. Hallelujah. You know what I'm saying? But you got the coldest in the game. But listen, man, I love you guys, man. God bless everybody who stayed for the whole entire day. Listen, I am.
Hopefully, I'm gonna try to visit each one of you guys next year. That's my goal. I'm trying to drop in on each one of y'all next year, man.
I believe it's possible.
I love it.
Look forward to it. You know what I'm saying?
Let me know.
Yeah. I'm not coming to New York when it's cold. But all right, then, fellas, listen. It's been a treat. Thank you for tuning in. Thank everybody for participating. Listen, God bless you all. And tune in next year for another episode of Unapologetically Black, Male, and Christian. Holla.